can't believe I won.
And you still got people out there with double masks and face shields and shit. Look into it.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake.
Hello, everybody, and welcome again to another episode of Look Into It. Tonight, all you conspiracy heads are in luck because we're going to go deep, man. We're going to go super deep. We're going to go so deep that my guest, he didn't want to even give out his name. He goes by the name of Isaac Weishaupt, which is actually the founder or alleged founder of the Illuminati. Isaac, how you doing?
Man, this is a super huge privilege for me to be on your show, man. Thank you. I've been wanting to, touch base with you, make contact with you for years and years and years. So like huge.
You sent me a couple books, moment. Right? You sent me a couple books.
Yeah. Years and years ago when I first started writing books, I didn't know how to get a hold of you. I mailed them to your academy. They probably got stolen or lost in the mail or something. But yeah, it's been a long time, man.
So you go by the name of the founder of the Illuminati because you just don't want crazies coming after you, right?
Yeah. let me give you the short version of my history here, right? So let me tell you how this broke down. I'll go back to like my first red pill. I was in the military and my buddy was like, "Hey man, you got to check out this William Cooper guy who wrote Behold a Pale Horse."
Yes.
Back in 2002, right? I was in South Korea doing a short tour when 9/11 happened. And like, of course, 9/11 is a big launch pad for all this kind of stuff, right? So I get the Bill Cooper book the next year and I'm like, well, that's kind of crazy, whatever, right? And then a couple of years later, I get a copy of David Icke's Freedom Road on VHS tape. And it's, a lecture of him and he's talking about ancient occult religions and lizard people. And I'm like, wow, these guys are a trip, man. This is crazy. And at the time, it was just interesting to me that people would think that way.
And now you're in the military at this time.
No, I'd gotten out. I just did 4 years and got out.
You did 4 years in the Navy?
No, I was in the Air Force. I was an ammo troop in the Air Force.
Oh shit! Did you ever learn how to fly a jet?
Hell no, man. I didn't do no cool shit like that. We blow shit up in ammo, but that's it.
Okay.
But yeah, so I get out of the military and I catch up on David Icke. I'm like, oh, this is interesting, and I'm going to college, and I had a 2-year break between before I started grad school for engineering, right? And I started blogging. This is 2011. I started blogging and I was really interested in David Icke's theories. So I made a website called IlluminatiWatcher.com. And it was very sort of pop culture, just me talking about movies I liked and music and some conspiracy talk here and there. Because I was listening to a lot of podcasts and I was early in the sort of podcasting wasn't a global thing necessarily, but there was a few voices out there. You were one of the early Joe Rogan guys, and I was really into this stuff, and I was listening to all kinds of different shows and Jay Weidner and all kinds of stuff. And about a year into my blogging, a morning radio show out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, contacts me and said, "Hey, we want you on our show to talk about some of your wacky conspiracy stuff." I said, "Oh, okay, that's interesting. I guess so." And what's your name? And I didn't have a name at that time, and I wasn't going to use my real name. So using the initials of Illuminati Watcher with the I and W, I came up with Isaac Weishaupt because I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's like, Illuminati. Adam Weishaupt is the original founder.
Adam Weishaupt.
That's right.
That was his name. Okay, so you're not okay. There we go. So
yeah.
Okay. So all right. So he can't sue you from the dead.
Not as far as I know.
Adam was his name. Okay.
Yeah. Right. And turns out stupidest choice I ever made, right? Like, because I know, like I said, man, back then I was just interested in this stuff. I had zero intent. Like a lot of people get into podcasting and blogging nowadays because they're trying to make money, and I get that, right? And that's fine. I don't care. But back then for me, that wasn't what it was. I didn't want to be known. I didn't want my name out there. I didn't want none of that crap. So in 2012, I started writing my first book. By 2014, I start my podcast. By 2016, my YouTube's blowing up. I had like 75,000 subscribers, and they torched my account because I was talking about Ariana Grande, some symbolism in her music video, right? before that, Taylor Swift's management company shut my whole channel down. This is back before people started talking about YouTube canceling everybody and all that stuff, right? I was kind of on the
Damn,
front
they went after you early.
really early, 2015. Her management, Red Dog Media or something. I go to log in and it's like, you've been blocked from your account. And like I said, like people weren't really doing this. They weren't talking about them shutting creators down back then. And I was like, the heck is this? And I had to Google the term Red Dog Media, and sure enough, it's Taylor Swift's.
What'd you say about her? What's the story on her?
Well, you know what's crazy is like look, like I don't like to even call myself a truther. I like talking about these subjects, and I try to be very respectful and try to understand that, you know, I don't think Taylor Swift's worshiping Satan, right? I think you see symbolism in her music videos, and I'm going to talk about it. And that's what I did. She had a music video. I don't remember which one. I'm not a fan. And I talked about various symbols that I saw in the video. And I wish if I was better prepared, I could tell you what the symbols were, but it was nothing crazy. I wasn't, you know, like Mark Dice, right? Mark Dice he's another theorist guy. He's been around forever. He'll make a video about Taylor Swift and he'll be like, can I swear on the show? I can, right?
Yes.
Okay. He'll be like, this fucking slutty skank, and like he'd calling her names, and like that's not me, man. I try to basically talk like I would talk if someone's in the room with me. You know what I mean? And I always try to be like a respectful kind of dude. And it kind of blew me away because Mark Dicey, he's still on YouTube. He's got 2 million subscribers. He's killing it. And I'm like, why would they shut me down? And even back then when they shut me down, I thought, I still try to find excuses to be like, oh, it's not a conspiracy, and they wouldn't do that. Like I actually thought those thoughts. I thought, because a lot of people would say, oh, Isaac, it's because you're telling the truth, man. They're coming after you. And I was like, I don't know about that. I think I just probably, maybe they don't like the bad press or something. So they shut that down. And, you know, I kept writing books this whole time. And then in 2020, you know, at this point, the only thing I had left, because Google shadow banned my blog too. I used to be top hit. Any term like Katy Perry Illuminati, when the Super Bowl happened, boom, I'm at the top of the search. So I'm hitting 500,000 page views a month, killing it on Google, right? Making Google AdSense money on the blog. And I'm like, dude, this is great. And Google shadow bans my website to the 5th page, you know. Now I'm down to just podcasting and book writing. And then 2020, and you know, it was fine. Like I work a day job, you know what I mean? Like I work full time. So this is like a side thing for me. Then in 2020, when the pandemic happened, man, everybody turned into a conspiracy theorist. And now it's like, man, my podcast just skyrockets. Everyone's listening to it. And yeah. And I only recently, it was only like 2018 or 2019 that I showed my face publicly. Like I kept anonymous for a long, long time.
Damn.
You know?
What was your first book about, and how did that book deal come about?
So, okay, so I self-published every single book that I've done. I talked to for a couple of my books, I considered going through, I don't want to say their name, but there was one company that does a lot of conspiracy type books, and I talked to them, and I don't know, for me, it was kind of like not really worth it. So I ended up self-publishing everything because I was like, well, I already know the process. And my first book was called A Grand Unified Conspiracy Theory, the Illuminati, Ancient Aliens, and Pop Culture. And it's kind of what it is, right? And I wrote that in like 2012, I think it was what it was. And I gave a copy to Joe Rogan. I got a photo of it and everything. I was so happy. I gave it to Joe Rogan because he's in the book.
Would you show up at one of his shows or something?
Yeah, he was in Salt Lake, and man, he stuck around afterwards. You know, it's always, you know, to as a fan, you know, when the comedians, when you guys come into town and stuff, like I think it's so dope that you guys will stick around afterwards until because everybody lined up. I mean, the whole damn place just stood in line to meet the guy, and you know, we got through and took some photos and all that, and yeah, that was at 2014, I think that was. It was forever ago. He's with Tony Hinchcliffe at the time.
Yeah, we're just looking for drugs after the show. That's basically
oh, is that what it is? You know, and then you get all these fanboys like me. You're like, bro, move along. No, but yeah, the first book was a lot of ideas that David Icke talks about, and me trying to simplify it because I had a hard time understanding it myself. You know, David Icke, his books are like 900 pages. His lectures are 8 hours long. And I was like, well, let me try to make this more simple. You know what I mean? I try to simplify everything. So that's what the first book was about.
So in regards to David Icke, I have mixed feelings about him, but my feelings don't mean shit. But I mean, there's some people that say, like Alex Jones, for instance, they'll say, "Oh, Alex Jones got me into conspiracy theories, but now I think he's, controlled opposition, or he's working for Mossad, or he's a Zionist shill." And they said that shit about David Icke too. Like, I was into David Icke in the beginning, but he's like a gatekeeper. He's, deep state or whatever. What do you think about David Icke
Man, all these
nowadays?
nowadays, I don't follow him like I used to. I think in this weird sort of truther world that everybody is suspicious of everybody because I get it all the time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like they'll be like I'm not Jewish at all, but people look at me and they're like, "Oh, this guy's a total Jew. Look at his big nose," and I'm like, "Bro, stop! What are you talking about?" But David Icke, I think he's on the. I think his theories where he talks about ancient cultures and the symbolism, I think that's pretty good stuff as far as I know for me reading this stuff for the last 10 years. Now, as far as lizard shape-shifting people, I think it's an interesting theory. Do I buy it like wholesale, like, everything about it? No, but I don't know, man. And it's like hard to prove or disprove something like that.
Yeah, when it comes to the whole reptilian thing, I think, I mean, most people, or a large percentage of people, over 50%, believe in aliens. They believe in UFOs and aliens, right? So to believe in UFOs and to totally throw someone under the bus because they say reptilians exist, to me is idiotic. Like, wait a minute. So you believe in aliens, but not reptilians? Wouldn't you think like these aliens, there's a good chance that they look like reptiles. They could be smart reptiles. Like, no, like you believe in little green gray guys, but reptilians are too much.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, wait a minute. If you totally didn't believe in aliens at all, you thought it was total bullshit, then I could understand you thinking the whole reptilian thing is nonsense as well. But you can't be claiming UFOs and talking shit on reptilians. That's stupid.
Yeah, and David Icke's fascinating because he's got that whole Saturn moon matrix theory that ties into the shape-shifting people. And I think that's, again, does he know it all? No, but he might, maybe, but he's definitely on the pulse of it. I think there's something there to it. I don't know what it is, but some of it makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah, totally. Well, he was on Tinfoil Hat once, and I was also on it at the same time.
Oh, okay.
And I asked him about the moon landings, and he totally thinks the moon landings were real. So that, at least for a bit, like right there, I was like, okay, I'm not buying this guy at all. I mean, he's talking all this crazy shit, but he believes we landed on the moon. So but then I look back at it now, and now I think like maybe he's like one of those guys, and I know quite a few guys that spent a lot of time on certain conspiracy theories, maybe just even one, and to avoid losing credibility, they don't jump on any other conspiracy theories that they haven't looked into. Some will even talk shit on other conspiracy theories, like just to make their conspiracy theory, the one that they have expertise on, more credible. It sounds like I'm not even a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe in this. I don't believe in that. I think that's bullshit. But I put time and effort into this one, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy fact person. So in order to have people believe in what they're presenting more, they'll throw other conspiracy theories under the bus. So I'm thinking maybe it's that, he doesn't want to get into the moon and all that, because that's how Alex Jones is. Everybody thinks I wouldn't say everybody, but a large percentage of the conspiracy theory community think Alex Jones works for Israeli intelligence. He's in the Zionist shill and all this shit. And he believes we went to the moon. So, and he's a really good friend of mine. Me and Alex Jones we're pretty tight. And I don't think he's a shill. Who knows for sure? Who knows who has been talked to? But one thing I know, a few things I know about Alex Jones is he's not Bill Hicks. Okay. Watch that documentary that just came out, Alex's War.
Oh yeah.
Dude, there's plenty of footage of him when he's 20 years old. And that's not Bill Hicks. How could it be Bill Hicks when there's all this footage of him when he's 20 and he's in great shape, good looking guy. And that documentary is awesome. It's called Alex's War. If you haven't seen it, I don't even know if it's out yet. I saw the premiere last week. So good. It's so
I can't wait to watch it. Yeah, I follow the dude on Twitter.
Yeah, and if he's a shill, dude, how do they bury shills? Like they're trying to ruin this guy. They got him in court right now. They got him in court trying to bankrupt him. They're going out like the Sandy Hook parents are going after him and they're trying to sue him for what? Like they're trying to deplete all his money. Mm-hmm. And just ruin him. Like that alone to me just says he's not working for the government. He is stressed the fuck out over it. They're dragging him through the mud. They're trying to destroy him and ruin him. And some people think that he's a shill because he was basically left alone to talk shit for so many years, for decades. Sam Tripoli and I are coming to your town. Catch us on the road doing tinfoil hat comedy. Follow me on Instagram at tinfoil hat comedy night. Go to samtripoli.com for more information and to buy your tickets. See you on the road. Alex Jones, in my eyes, he's just after the criminals in government. And at the time when he was first making his name known, he was going after George W. Bush and was talking all sorts of shit on his dad. So the liberals were loving him. They invited him to Hollywood. They wanted to give him shows. They wanted to put him in movies. Liberals loved him because he was going after George W. And if you got 1/5 of a brain, you can see that George W. is he's the second dumbest president of all time. Biden is probably number one, but there's a chance Biden is just faking it. He could be faking his retardation. But regardless, Alex Jones was going after the Bushes hard, and the left loved him, but he wasn't a Democrat. And then when Obama got into office, he went after Obama too. I mean, there may have been a small period of time where he thought maybe Obama was legit, because Rogan thought Obama was legit in the beginning. He was like, dude, I hear he's the man. I hear this guy's going to change shit. And I'm like, for real? For real? I'm like, okay. I kind of, at that point, I lost hope in all government at that point, because I was balls deep in the Clintons and I was balls deep in the Bushes, and the Clintons were Democrat and the Bushes were Republican. So to me, during the 2000s, I was like, all these motherfuckers are rats. So once he started going after the Obama and Hillary hard, that's when they really went after him. So when you understand the timeline of Alex Jones, does he work? Is he paid by Israeli intelligence?
Nah, I don't believe that.
Fucking doubt that, dog. If you know him, I know a couple things about him for sure. He is 1,000,000% down for the First and Second Amendment. He's a constitutionalist. He lives in Texas. He loves his family. I was hanging out with his son Rex last week. They love each other. Like Alex and Rex are like, it's like, there's no way.
Yeah,
there's no way he's a
I don't
shit.
buy that argument.
I don't buy it. But everybody, like you said, at the top of this little subject we're talking about, everybody in the conspiracy theory movement is pointing fingers at each other. And I was buying it too. I remember anytime anybody would say anything about some new conspiracy theorist coming up, like, oh, dude, that guy's a shill. Oh, that's a government agent. I would say, oh, okay, thank you for telling me. You know what? I'm not going to pay attention to that guy. I would believe it. I would say, damn, shit, they got these guys, these paid shills everywhere. And I'm sure there are paid shills. I'm sure there are.
Right?
I'm sure there are. And I remember watching videos, this video of like certain people, they would like freeze frame their interviews and they would be doing like Illuminati hand signs and all this.
Right.
And I'm like, oh man, look at him. Shit, he is doing Illuminati hand signs. I'm like, damn, they would freeze frame on an interview and they're like, oh shit, look, he's putting it right in your face. I'm like, fuck, okay, maybe that's, oh shit. I'd watch those videos. I watched them on YouTube. And then I saw a video of me. Some dude is breaking me down on Tinfoil Hat podcast, and I'm doing like they're freeze framing, and I'm like, because I talk when I'm talking, I'm like, I'm doing this, and then they freeze frame, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, I can't believe none of that hand sign shit no more. So anytime I see a video where someone's breaking down somebody for throwing up hand signs, 99% of the time, I'm like, okay, horseshit. Except there is a couple. Like that one LeBron James video where he's on the basketball court and they're doing like the national anthem and he does like some and it's obvious. They show the whole thing that it isn't freeze framed. It's not freeze framed. He's actually doing it. And LeBron, man, I don't know, man. That guy he's so powerful. It wouldn't shock me if he's hanging out at certain parties. It wouldn't shock me.
Well, yeah, there's a weird. So I don't follow sports, but from what I understand, LeBron James is more or less trying to pick up where Kobe left off in terms of using entertainment to push certain messages about magic, right? Which, and when we get into Crowley today, we'll talk about ritual magic and the background of the occult and why all of this really matters and how they're really using sorcery to change our world for what they want it to be. Because when Kobe Bryant died, again, not
he died for sure.
Sports.
You think? Is he dead for sure? You think?
I guess I don't. As far as I know,
okay.
I didn't know there's a theory he's not, but yeah, he died, and I was like, oh, anytime something big happens, I start looking into it. Okay, let me see if there's something here, and there was some weird stuff, right? Like you probably saw the cartoon of before Kobe died, there was a cartoon of him in a helicopter crash.
It's Kobe Bryant.
Help me.
Just pass me the trophies and we'll pull you out.
Pass.
On some cartoon, and it was kind of like, okay, that's kind of weird, right? Well, what's weirder is if you read his kids' books, he wrote 2 kids' books under this label. He started this entertainment company called Granity. And when you read the kids' books and you understand the business, his whole idea was to instill the ideas of magic into children. That's what Granity means in this universe he made up in his head. Granity actually means magic. And okay, right? Like that happens, right? There's stories about this. It's just a kid's story, right? But the problem was when I read the 2 kids' books, which they're 2 different storylines, they both have this theme of this child who wants to be better at sports, so they embrace dark forces to do it. They like the one embraces his shadow, and the shadow even tries to kill him and stuff. The other one.
Do we have that cartoon? Because I've seen it, and he has like this stuffed animal snake, right? There's like it's a kids thing that he's promoting, and there's a serpent, and there's it's crazy.
I don't know. The one
you haven't seen that?
Was like the one I saw was like a Comedy Central cartoon or something.
Dude, there's video of Kobe Bryant doing it's like Sesame Street type thing. Or let's watch this. Let's see if this is the code. Let's see. Oh, this is it.
A muse cage is a room decorated with any and everything that inspires you. When you're in your muse cage, you are surrounded by musings that keep you focused and motivated. Every muse cage is powered by 2 forces: light musing and dark musings. Dark musings make you feel bad and angry.
I don't like dark music.
Most people don't, but what they don't understand is that dark musings just may be our greatest source of energy and power.
Oh.
If you're looking for your inner beast, it's most likely living inside of a dark muse.
I have to ask this because
yeah, dude, that's what he's talking about.
He was going to bat for some dark magic, dog, right there.
Yes,
he was,
yes.
Yeah, he was.
And that's exactly what that's exactly what his two children's stories are talking about embracing this dark element. And the one, the kid worships a fallen, like basically Lucifer, this fallen angel statue, and he finds out his like dad was worshiping it before him, so it's like this family ritualized practice
Holy
thing.
shit.
I mean, it was crazy stuff that I was like, dude, what the hell is happening here? So from what I understand, LeBron is now, because Kobe was going to work with Paulo Coelho, the author of The Alchemist, who Paulo Coelho had some allegiances to Aleister Crowley growing up.
Wait a minute. So Kobe, there's one guy in between Crowley and Kobe Bryant.
Yeah. So, okay. So you ever heard of a book called The Alchemist written by a guy named Paulo Coelho?
I read, that's one of, is that the one where a guy goes on a trip around the world like he's going to the Middle East?
Yes, Santiago learns his universal
dude,
will.
I've told people most of my whole life that I've read 4 books.
Oh yeah,
right.
That's one of them, huh?
And you know what? I forgot about that one. It's 5 now, dog. I've read 5 books.
Yeah, and it's a good one. I like it. I thought it was good. It had a good message, whatever, and it's fine. I'm not a cancel culture guy. I'm not a burn the books guy.
It was entertaining. I read it. I'm like, this.
Yeah, it's a fast read.
One of my
It's a good
students gave it to me. His name's Connor Hune. He runs 10th Planet Denver, and he gave it to me when he was like a blue belt. He goes, you got to read this. I go, I don't read books, dog. And he goes, just read the first page and you'll get hooked. And I did, and I read the whole goddamn thing, and I couldn't fucking believe it. Does listening to audiobooks count as reading books?
I count it. Yeah,
you count it. Oh no. Okay, so then I've read quite a few, because I'll drive around and listen to some audiobooks. Like the Paul Stanley is the lead singer of Kiss. His audiobook, I can't get enough of that one. There's just so much, good for me. I'm too lazy to read books. This is Prison Guard. All right, whether I sweep them, whether I put this butterfly in here and sweep them, I shuck, squeeze, gift wrap, and boom, and now I'm on his back. Maybe I sweep him the other way. Maybe I put this butterfly in. This way. Have him let go of the double unders, and look, shoot this through. Boom! And then I go, bam! Look where we're at. Boom! A shoulder crunch attempt is probably, like all sweeps, 20% at best successful. But doing it from here, if it doesn't work, I still got him. I used to go here, boom, and then come here, and come up this way. That's what I usually do. All that is Prison Guard, all right? It's all off homie control. Homie control, again, is like the mission control of Prison Guard.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. I get some people have a hard time reading books. It's like sometimes it's like math, right? I took a lot of math courses. I had a math minor and stuff in college. And people are like, oh, you're so smart because you know math. And I'm like, no, it's not really like that. I think it's just that some brains are structured to understand certain things easier. And for me, it's like math, for whatever reason, the structure of my brain can like understand the concepts. And, same goes for like reading, man. Some people just don't like reading.
Yeah, I just wanted to play video games. I didn't want to read. Miss Pac-Man was all the rage when I was a kid. Asteroids, Defender. All the good clouds, Donkey Kong, Crazy Kong. Most people don't know about Crazy Kong.
No.
But there was a Crazy fucking Kong, looked just like Donkey Kong. I don't know if they had some kind of lawsuit going on, but there was a Crazy Kong and Donkey Kong. A Donkey Kong blew up and crazy. It was like Edison and Tesla. You know what I mean? Edison blows up and Tesla's just like this obscure, crazy, insane scientist. Are you into Tartaria at all?
You know, it's funny, man. I'm absolutely brand new into it. Literally 2 weeks ago, I hooked up with someone that's into Tartaria, and I'm trying to find give me the one. Where's the 101 course? Because I don't know anything about it.
John Levi.
Okay.
Go to YouTube, and there's a guy. Is that John Levi, right? Levi. Levi. To me, that's Levi's. I wore 501 jeans my whole life. That's Levi, dog. Yeah. Mama call him Levi. Daddy call him Levi. I'ma call him Levi. Trying to go by Levy to get chicks. No, but he's got a crazy voice too. He's got like this very animated voice.
Okay.
But he's brilliant.
I'll check it out for sure.
dude. Because with Tartaria, people like at first you're thinking, okay, what is this? Oh, that was this ancient cataclysmic event, big fucking deal, Noah's Ark, right? And then you're like, okay, and then the first material I got about Tartaria was just like, people like explaining what it is. They're writing, there's shit you read on the internet, and then there's like drawings of what this cataclysmic event looked like. And I was like, what does this have to do 200 years ago? There's no video back then. So then I just ran away from it. I'm like, what kind of evidence is that? I don't believe shit in history books. I'm like, history books? I'm talking shit on history books all fucking day. And now you're telling me to read a fucking history book? Like, but then you start seeing the actual evidence that exists today. So that conspiracy theory, the Tartarian conspiracy theory goes from, with me anyways, it went from having no evidence except for writing, that's evidence, get the fuck out of here, to endless pictures and endless evidence of some cataclysmic event that happened who the fuck knows how long ago, but shit, there's evidence all over the world. There's all shit that we thought were mountains, shit that we thought were like hillsides. Like they were buildings. There's like, it sounds crazy. There's
I'm gonna dig
this
into
mountain
it, man.
range,
That's
this
an
mountain
endorsement.
range with all these windows in it.
Oh, interesting.
A mountain range with window, and then certain part of the mountain range has the building still intact. The Tartarian conspiracy theory, I'm no expert in, but it has something to do with this. Something to do with there was some kind of electromagnetic storm that hit this plane, whatever the fuck we're on, and melted everything. Or not everything. So that's the thing that's interesting. It didn't get everything because there's these mountains, and then it looks like these big rocks. There's like these rocks, but then all of a sudden there's these patches of brick that were untouched by whatever the fuck made those bricks blow up. Something melted bricks, some kind of frequency, electromagnetic current. I don't know. I'm no scientist, but there's massive evidence. It's endless. Go to Instagram and just follow anything Tartaria. Tartaria.
Yeah, I just looked up to one.
Dude,
I'd shout them out. I don't remember
it's
the name.
endless. It used to look like, if you just look at them, you're like, oh, someone built a structure into the side of a mountain. Okay. That's what it looks. That's if you don't think about it, if you don't break it down, that's what it appears. But then the more you look at it and the more you break it down, you're like, dude, that's not a building on the side of a hill. That used to be a building that got melted, and the parts that got melted turned into a hill. Crazy shit. Dude, I never get tired of that.
I'm not opposed to that line of thinking either, because I feel like, to sort of maybe even tie it into your idea of doing the book reports, right? I feel like our world is run by people who want us to think. I had this experience. I was a program manager for a period of time, and the experience I got, I could only get to a certain point, and then the leadership people like seemed to not like me because I would sort of be a little more honest than I should have. And the message was, look, you got to sell everybody that you've got this under control. And I'd be like, well, I'd be lying because there's these factors here that I don't have under my control. And they were kind of like, that doesn't matter. You kind of need to sell it that you've got it under control. And to me, that opened my mind up to how everything works, going up to the government and everybody. It's and history books. It's like, they know that they need to convince all the peons out here, like, look, we've already figured all this out. Everything's under control. We know everything that's ever happened. Now continue about your day and, work for the machine. They have a vested interest in making sure that we don't have any, quote unquote, unanswered questions. That's why the UFO disclosure thing took 60, 70 years, because they took them that long to finally come out and say, and they still haven't done it yet, but they're posturing to say there's these things happening and we don't really understand what they are. They're kind of doing it, but in a weird way right now. And that could be a huge
Wait a minute,
psyop.
you're into William Cooper.
Yeah.
You know what he thinks about aliens.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
He from what I understand, he was on the fence about it. He was kind of like, look, he saw a USO come up from under the ocean while on a ship one time. He saw some documents about UFOs, and he always said, as far as I remember, because I'm no historian expert on the guy, but I was under the impression he said, look, either aliens are real or they put that information in my face so that I would talk about it and tell people. I really don't know.
That's what I believe. Dude, I was balls deep into aliens my whole life. I got a tattoo right here of a fucking alien, dude, with Egyptian clothes. An alien. I was into Egypt and fucking, dude, I was balls deep in UFOs. It used to be that a conspiracy theorist was someone who thought the government was hiding alien technology and project or a blue book and all that shit. Dude, I don't know how many conspiracy theory, UFO, VHS tapes I fucking have, dude. You know what I mean? And it was William Cooper, your boy. He was the one that figured out what the fuck was going on and explained Bob Lazar and all that. Bill Cooper and Bob Lazar, because like you said, Bill Cooper said, either this shit's real, either there are UFOs and aliens flying around, or they're trying to set me up to talk about it. And then that was his. The older he got, the more he realized that's what it was. He realized that it's in the government's or any government and world government's best interest to promote an extraterrestrial threat.
Okay, kind of like you're in the camp of like Ronald Reagan talked about,
exactly.
Right?
So as a dude who believed in aliens and as a conspiracy theorist who thought the government was covering up aliens for many years. I looked at that Ronald Reagan footage where he's talking at the CFR and he's talking at the UN. There's two different ones.
Interesting.
There's one where he's at CFR, small audience, and then there's one at the UN. The one at the UN, man, he's pulling out that fucking Academy Award acting. It's different, dude.
So that tells me there was a script he was trying to get a message out. If he said it twice and it's on video,
dude. The UN one, dude. He should have got best fucking supporting actor for that shit.
Well, he was into a lot of occult stuff too, which ties into
Ronald Reagan's a mystery. I don't know. Some people think he was like the savior, and that's why they try to kill him. And then after they try to kill him, he changed or whatever. I don't know. I need to see a real documentary on Ronald Reagan, a non-deep state one on Ron. I haven't found one. If anybody out there can direct me, don't give me no goddamn book. I just fucking spent a half an hour talking about how I don't read books, okay? Unless you got an audio book. You got an audio, but I want a Ronald Reagan, the untold truth about like the real shit, the conspiracy theory, real shit on Ronald Reagan. But the one where he talked about when he's talking to the one that we're gonna show right now, but the UN one, he makes all the alien believers go, look, he's at the UN saying that aliens are real. It's so dramatic. But the one at the CFR, because at the UN one, he's like,
perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
And you know what? I'm going to take a chance here because I haven't seen it in a while. But in the CFR one, he doesn't say like, wouldn't the thought of an alien threat just bring us all together as one? But this one, he's like, dude, what if there was an alien threat? Wouldn't it make our jobs way easier, dog? He says it different.
It's true.
It's different. He says, what if there's this alien threat? Dude, we would fucking crush these motherfuckers.
I couldn't help at one point in my discussions privately with General Secretary Gorbachev, when you stop to think that we're all God's children wherever we may live in the world, I couldn't help but say to him, just think how easy his task and mine might be in these meetings that we held if suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species, from another planet, outside in the universe. We'd forget all the little local differences that we have between our countries, and we would find out once and for all that we really are all human beings here on this earth together. Well, I don't suppose we can wait for some alien race to come down and threaten us, but I think that between us, we can bring about that realization.
The UN, he's all lovey-dovey, and at the CFR one, same speech, but he was like, dude, wouldn't it make our jobs a lot easier if we just told these motherfuckers aliens were invading? He said it in a gangster way. But anyways, so my feeling these days, after fucking getting a tattoo, 9 sessions, 6 hours each of this alien on my fucking arm, just it's embarrassing. I have come to the belief that the government is pushing aliens for the fake alien invasion. It's the old. There's a bunch of different steps and a bunch of different things you can do to usher in the new world order: climate change, pandemics, terrorism, asteroids, and the granddaddy of them all, fake alien invasion. Because just like Independence Day, they did it. They do it in Independence Day and Lord of the Rings. It's the same thing. Alien threat, we all need to unite together and burn our constitution and our sovereignty and come together to fight the common threat. That's what Lord of the Rings is, in my opinion. And that's what Independence Day was like, literal. It was like, alien threat, everyone get together. You know what? China got the best shit. China gonna save us. You know, just like in that movie 2012, when the Great Flood, who saved everybody? China. They had the arcs. They were ahead of everybody. You know what I mean? So,
interesting. Well, I think that so I wrote these 2 alien books like in the last in 2020. I wrote these 2 books right here. Aliens, UFOs, and the Occult. Use Illusion 1 and 2.
Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry.
What's that?
I didn't mean to talk shit on aliens.
Oh no. Well, I'm exploring it, right? Because I don't know what I think about aliens yet. I'm still on the fence. I think if you force me to tell you my opinion, I think that there's a couple things happening here. I think on the one hand, it's exactly what you're saying. There's this, what do you call it? Project Blue Beam type thing where it's like, okay, here comes the UFOs. Let's get a global government to, really squash this
so you're on top of it. Okay. I was a little worried there. You're on top of it. You know what's up.
I'm with you.
You know what? I'm totally not against. You know me. We're on some fucking plane. We're not on a fucking ball shooting through the fucking imaginary space. All right. We're on some kind of plane. And I believe that if there's got to be other beings that way and that way to the side. I think we're talking about aliens as other types of humanoids or even reptilians. I don't know. They don't come from up there. They come from the side. They come from way over there and way over there. So I'm not against that. But I'm against all the, E.T. and Star Wars and all that kind of shit. Battlestar Galactica, Star Trek. All that to me is horseshit.
Close your eyes and just, am I moving? Am I spinning? It's that easy. We're not.
The Earth is stationary, and that is scientific, not pseudoscience.
The Earth is spinning at 1,040 miles an hour. You can't feel it. You can't measure it. You can't observe it. You can't repeat it. But trust us.
People are just deceived. I mean, I grew up from kindergarten. There's a globe. They gave them a globe at graduation to take home like an inflatable baseball.
So why are they teaching the globe model? Well, the globe is a container, and it's a container of all the known land.
If there's more land,
in the late 1800s, they were talking about more land beyond Antarctica.
The North Pole is a biggie.
Very glamorous destination.
What if we all took our compasses out and just followed them until it stopped?
Oh, it is that far. Oh my God.
Wake up.
What if we can truly become free?
They needed a new model because they wanted a new world order.
Open your eyes.
The physics of water is to find and maintain level.
This is the year of flat Earth.
The next level.
The heliocentric theory is bullshit.
Get ready for the next level.
The next level. The truth cannot be stopped.
I'm in the camp of I also believe interdimensionally there's aliens. I think Alex Jones might have said that too.
I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's like, you've got angels and demons. I think it's a similar idea where there's aliens in some other dimension. And when you study the occult, we're talking hundreds of years of them following spell books and grimoires and like very, very polished techniques and language used to make contact with basically aliens. They called them the Enochian angels, whatever, right? So there's this long, rich history of this. And long story short, we go from John Dee in the Middle Ages. He was doing all this stuff. He made contact and was like, okay, here's the recipe on how to make contact with the aliens. And it goes down the line to Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley works on it. He perfects it. He's like, okay, boom, just made contact with Lamb, the first gray alien. And then he takes that same ritual. It's called the Amalantra working, hands it off to Jack Parsons, which ties us into NASA and stuff, right? He hands it off to Jack Parsons, and Jack Parsons is like, cool, I'm going to continue your mission, Aleister Crowley, to bring about the end of Christianity and bring about the new world, the Aeon of Horus, they call it. And he used that same ritual, and they call it the Babylon working, where he was making contact and trying to channel this the goddess of Babylon that he thought, turned out to be Marjorie Cameron. They were supposed to bring about the Antichrist and all this stuff. But the point being, back when in 1946, L. Ron Hubbard, Jack Parsons, they're doing these rituals to make contact with aliens. Crowley infamously said, look, these two bozos, they don't know what they're doing. Like, he liked Parsons, which is kind of weird. I don't really understand it. But he also, at the same time, had correspondence where he was like, I don't trust these two to close down the rituals correctly. And they're going to leave some portals open and there's going to be some problems. And sure enough, the next year we had Roswell. And that's when things really kick off, where the government starts investigating this, all in the 50s and 60s.
Well, Roswell happened 1947, right?
Right.
Right.
And
So-
the government starts investigating, and there's this group called the Collins Elite. I don't know if you're familiar with them or not.
Are they anything like the Vril Society?
No. So in the Pentagon, as the story goes, and this is Nick Redfern. He's been on Ancient Aliens and stuff. He wrote a book where he talks about this, and I've had verified through. I've got a lot of contacts in the alien world, and I'm not trying to blow up anyone's spot, but I've
Sukalos?
No, not that cool.
I know him.
Oh, did you? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, he was on Joe Rogan forever ago. I listened to that.
I haven't heard from him for a long time, though.
Oh, really?
But I used to be balls deep in Ancient Aliens.
Oh, for sure. It's interesting.
But then
I still watch
little
it.
by little, I was like, wait a minute. How the fuck? All of us, dude, 10th planet comes from
Nibiru.
Yeah, and it's Nibiru. It's
Sitchin.
Zachariah Sitchin, dog.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
all about that shit. And then finally, I got Ancient Aliens is born on the History Channel, all about Zachariah Sitchin and his writings. So I'm like, what? I thought, like, see, I was right. See. And then little by little, I began to believe that it was it was all part of the plan. That's Project Bluebeam right there. Ancient Aliens is part of Project Bluebeam. That, in my opinion.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I agree. I think they're doing part of the new disclosure is to show us these, because you'll notice the government doesn't come out and say, oh, we've got all this weird paranormal activity. In fact, when Trump was in, he said, give us a full report on everything you've been studying for 10 years. And they came up with a 9-page report, and it basically didn't tell us anything. And it said, oh, we need more money. But the reality is, I think they're funneling money into History Channel programs, Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, Ancient Aliens.
Fuck yeah.
The list
History
goes on
Channel,
and on.
if they're not controlling History Channel, dude, somebody's going to get fucking hung. You know what I mean? If I was like Illuminati boss, I'm like, wait a minute. We don't have anybody on the History Channel? Dude, somebody got to pay. You have to make an example out of somebody. You got to fucking cut someone's tongue out, shove it up their ass, and you know, something. You got it. Dude, someone's going to die for that shit. History Channel? We should have been all over the History fucking channel. Science Channel? You don't think they're all over the Science Channel?
Yeah, but I think it's all. I think there's an occult element to all of this that some people in the government understand this. And to finish that real quick on the Collins elite, right? The Pentagon, when Parsons did all this Babylon working, and then Roswell happens, they say, "Oh, we got to figure out what the hell's going on here. This is weird." They had this Collins elite, this group of people that were very Christian conservative. I mean, we're talking 1940s and 50s, and they started investigating aliens and UFOs and finding out, oh, there's these occultists, Aleister Crowley and Jack Parsons and Kenneth Grant, and they're all doing these weird satanic rituals to summon aliens. Like, this sounds like bringing demons into our world. We shouldn't do anything to do with this. But for years and years and years, the Pentagon and the military was like, they were like about that action. They were like, no, we're going to use this as a weapon. Let's figure out how to weaponize this. So they wanted to study this, but the Collins elite was this influential group in the Pentagon that kept saying, keeping it at bay. Well, they started dying. You know, they're getting old. 2000s. Lou Elizondo, the guy who ran ATIP, that's also on a bunch of History Channel shows, and To the Stars Academy with Tom DeLonge and Peter Levenda and all these big names in the disclosure movement. On many, and I talk about, I have the citations in my first book, Use Your Illusion 1. Lou Elizondo, multiple interviews, even I think Nick Pope did it, said something to the effect of how there's these influences that in the Pentagon that have sort of fallen back, that used to think we were channeling Satan and channeling demons, and now they're kind of going away, and we can proceed and do this thing of making contact, because that was just silly, Christian talk, right? So I think there's something going on here where there's some people, I don't know what their motivation is. I think there's the element you're talking about where there's this global New World Order nonsense. I think that's part of it. But then I also think there's this part that understand the occult sciences and say, hey, this shit's real. This shit works. Let's make contact before the Chinese and the Russians do.
I definitely believe that there are some interdimensional, dark magic, occult, ancient Babylonian, Luciferian, pagan, all that shit. So what that tells me, because I'm an idiot, that tells me, man, there must be a mirror image. There must be, if there's that much evil and darkness, there must be light and divinity in my head. Yeah. So that the more you discover that these motherfuckers at the top, the further you go up to the people running everything, the more you find satanic rituals.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Luciferianism.
And we can talk about Ronald Reagan again, right? Ronald 100%. Reagan.
So I believe I believe that. But as far as Roswell, this is what I think. I think World War II is over in 1945, 1946, Operation Paperclip. We take 1,500 Nazi scientists and intelligence and all these different people. Alex Jones told me it was way more. Alex Jones said it's 30,000, 35,000. The official report is 1,500. Even if it was 500, all right? Even if it was 500 scientists, we took them in 1946, right? So, and then they formed what? NASA, and then they formed the CIA. They, in my opinion, they probably, and then also, we've already, it's in the separate subjects, you find out that the Nazis they built UFOs to scare their own people. They built UFOs and they were scaring their own people with fake aliens because they already knew. That's how you get everybody united. You scare them with shit. Only big government can save you from. Because when the aliens come down, everybody's going to be looking for the military and the government to save them. They know that. They're not stupid. I didn't invent that. You think I came up with that? Of course they know that.
Yeah.
They write it down. Scare the people with only shit that you can save them from. Don't worry about anything else. If someone else can save them, like, fuck that. Don't even put that on the news. Only like terrorism, viruses, asteroids, fake alien invasion. Same thing. So they come over, they formed CIA and NASA. They probably were tripping balls at our intelligence that we weren't building fucking fake UFOs and scaring our people with aliens. Like, you guys, what the fuck? That's the best shit you could do. We got to get on that shit. So boom, 1947, Roswell. And then since then,
interesting.
Right
Okay.
at 1947, Roswell. And then the next day, every comic book, Alien, Attack from Mars, 50s of Mars movies, aliens, everything is fucking aliens in the movies, TV, Star Trek, soon after. To me, I'm like, damn, it all, because in the UFO community, they're not even thinking about fucking what I'm saying right now. But they even say in the timeline that 1947 is what kicked it off. 1947, Roswell. That's what happened. And you know what? And people that believe in Roswell, like me and Joe Rogan got framed in his living room for decades. The front cover of a newspaper, I don't know if it was New York Times or LA Times, like, Roswell UFO crash. And they have these military officers that are like swearing, like, we saw it and all that. And that was proof for me. That was proof. And I'm like, dude, this shit's real. Look at these guys from the military are telling you this shit was real. The guys from the military are telling you. And then now looking back, I'm like, of course it's guys from the fucking military. Of course, it's guys from the Pentagon. Because it used to be that, like, if someone from the Pentagon said they saw, what was his name? Frank Corso or something from the Pentagon, and he wrote a book the day after. He said he saw the aliens in coffins and all that. And I was like, listen to this dude. This dude is in the fucking Pentagon, dog. So that was the proof for me. But now, that's what disproves it for me now. I'm like, oh, he's from the fucking Pentagon. So like Bill Cooper and like Bob Lazar, they take people in, and I believe they actually believe it. I believe Bob Lazar really believes he saw UFOs, and I believe that Frank Corso, what the fuck his name is, something Corso or something from the Pentagon. He was huge, wrote a book the day after, some shit like that. I believe he really believed he saw it. I believe they set him up. And that's how they do it. That's how you make the message more powerful. If you want someone to go out there and spread this shit, you want them to really believe it. So they bring in drunks. And this is what William Cooper said. He said they bring in drunks in the military and accidentally they make them run into some alien shit and then have them go talk about it. Right?
Yeah, that's an interesting angle.
And look that's what Bob Lazar was. Bob Lazar was a hot shot, fucking propulsion master, drunk. And what did he do? He went and talked about it. He was talking to everybody about it, and they knew about it. That's what they wanted. That's what you would do. If none of that is true, it's a good idea, though, right? Wouldn't that be like, damn, that's a good idea? Bring in some dudes and say, hey, we want you to work on this and we want you to work on that because you're smart and we think you're the perfect guy for it. We've been watching you and you're amazing. Let them sleep on that a couple days. Like, damn, I'm fucking special. They finally noticed me. Fuck, I made this badass engine. And then let them believe it. And then you bring them in, show them some shit, say, well, be right back. Make yourself at home, have some coffee, take off, and let them see some alien shit. And then come back and make them promise not to tell nobody. And you know they are, because you wouldn't have brought them in if they weren't a big mouth drunk.
That's an interesting theory. Yeah, because my perspective on it, I generally believe in the idea of interdimensional stuff, right? And part of that is based on the occultist Aleister Crowley. He's making contact with this gray alien lamb, right? Well, it could be like if I utilize your theory there that you're talking about, which I that's actually very good. He was an intelligence agent for the British. He was supposedly he was trying to get America into the war or some shit. I don't know. So they brought him over here, but he was an intelligence agent. So that would make a little bit of sense if he would be part of the psyop to be like, hey, look, I'm making contact with aliens. And then, this goes into Parsons. But a lot of these occultists, they're really interested in making contact. Like they believe it regardless. These occultists believe it.
Yes. So that's why I'm down for the interdimensional alien. I'm down for that because I think that's what the occult is and the fucking opening the portals and all that shit. I'm open to that. But the shit, the aliens that like interstellar and all that shit, deep space and all, I don't believe none of that shit.
I'm not into that
Horizon.
I'm not into that either. But Ronald Reagan, he studied Manly P. Hall, right? Manly P. Hall is a very famous occultist, wrote a ton of books and stuff like that.
I don't know that guy.
Okay, so he wrote a book called The Secret Teachings of All Ages. And it's this big fat book and it doesn't make any damn sense. And it's really hard to read. I've never read it cover to cover. I'll look for it for excerpts or whatever. But he says in there, Manly P. Hall says that, because he's all about ritual magic, right? And he says, magicians should make contact with these demonic forces to make gain for themselves. This includes Satan and Moloch. But the whole idea is like, look, I know they're bad things, but this will gain you wisdom and understanding. Which Ronald Reagan, if he's talking about, hey, we should look for this alien threat, and Kobe Bryant, he's talking about, oh, we should channel the dark energies. Like there could be something there that ties all these things together. This idea of following Lucifer or this dark energy or this dark force.
Is Moloch different than Satan?
Yeah, so in the Church of Satan, they cite various demons.
What about Baal?
Baal, I think Baal is the same as Moloch. So they're both.
What if there's a few high level entities? They gotta be beefing and talking shit on each other, right? Like Satan. Satan probably hates Moloch.
Right, yeah. I'd imagine so.
You know how many souls I've fucking burned, dog? Over fucking 19 billion souls served, dog. How many souls you serve, Baal? You only got them Egyptians.
Well, and there's
like
a problem.
10,000 max.
And there's a problem with all of that, right? Like people say, like, you'll see there's a growing movement of people that think Aleister Crowley was like this misunderstood guy, and it was just this Christian attitude. And look, let me talk about that for a second. I'm a Christian, but I'm not a good one. I don't even like organized religion. You know what I mean?
You don't go to confession?
No, I should. I haven't been to church in a few years, but like I do believe in Christ. I believe there's powers to the light energy of Christ. When you get into the nuts and bolts of some of the beliefs of the organized dogma, I kind of have a hard time with a lot of the beliefs because I'm kind of like, I don't know about that shit.
Because you have a brain?
Yeah, right. It's very difficult, right? And but at the same time, I understand when people are like, dude, that's all a bunch of made up fairy tale horse shit. Like I'm like, I get it, right? It does sound a little crazy. But
a lot of people that I respect are balls deep in the Bible.
Okay.
So
well, I think you can draw the light or dark forces, and I'm like, I'll try to go towards the light, whatever that looks like. And
gun to my head, the Bible is a manual on how to live your life at the right frequency, scientifically.
I like that.
Right? Like, what do you got to? It's like I don't know, man. Maybe Jesus, maybe he did exist. I don't know. Fuck, I don't know. It's so hard to believe. There's so much deception going on. And for sure, Catholicism, for sure, that's Satan. For sure.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But, then there's the, Protestant and then the fucking King James and Baptist. I don't know. I'm so confused. But it seems like the Bible has got the reason why it's existed for so long, and I could be totally wrong, is because there's a lot of good shit in there and there's a lot of truth in there. And maybe it is. Maybe religion is just like different forms of working out. There's all these different ways to stay in shape physically. CrossFit, fucking jogging. There's so many different. I love swimming, fucking mountain climbing. no fucking just free climbing, dog.
Hey,
There's
hey,
so
man,
much
hey,
shit,
hey,
right?
hey! I'm a CrossFitter, man. I heard you making fun of my beloved CrossFit once.
Are you crazy? Are you crazy? CrossFit chicks are smoking. Thank God for CrossFit. CrossFit
thank
has
God, man.
created at least 10 million hot bodies. You know what I mean? That's a good thing. That's
you
good
were
thing.
making fun of the kipping pull-ups, the worm pull-up. You call them worm pull-ups.
I'm just joking, dog.
I know.
But my point is, there's many ways to keep your body healthy and to make it strong. Many ways. And maybe that's what religions are. Religions and meditation. Maybe all that is like, you could believe in this. And if you follow this book, you will be healthy spiritually. If you follow this book, it's a different path and different names to the characters, but it doesn't matter. It's just a different style of keeping your spirit strong and healthy. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's that. I don't know. Maybe Jesus really did exist, but if Jesus really did exist, how does what does that mean to Hindus and Indians? They go to hell or something? I don't know. So it's very confusing. You know what I mean? Yeah. What about Africans? They don't care about Jesus. They got like other shit going on. There's some kind of tribe in Africa. They worship Mars. I don't know what's going on, but
well, there's a joke. There was a joke I saw on TikTok about this guy was like, he's like, good news, out of every country in the whole world, out of every religion in the whole world, you just happen to be born into the correct one. And that resonates with me because it's like, that's my problem, man. Is like, I was born into this and sort of told as a child, this is the truth. And it's kind of baked in there now. And it's like, man, I wouldn't be comfortable just being like, oh, this is all nonsense, I'm walking away, because that doesn't feel comfortable to me. But, I don't know. I think there's different angles of going, like you're saying, because I read a lot of like Buddhist stuff. Buddhism really resonates with me a lot. I get a lot of personal, the ideas of sort of analyzing your stories and attachments to suffering. Like that actually makes a lot more sense to me than just praying aimlessly, right? But it could just be the same. Meditation and prayers, like there could be like two sides of the same coin, where you're just mentally focusing in on something and trying to track towards it
and getting you at a certain frequency. Yes. Whether you're doing yoga or praying to Allah or praying to your grandma, whatever, it gets you to that same physical spot spiritually. And maybe that's what it's about. Maybe all these, because I mean, come on, you're going to tell me this religion has all the answers, but the rest of the world, they got another shit, they got other beliefs, and they're going to some kind of hell or something. That's hard to believe. That's what got me away from religion originally. When I was 11, I was hardcore Catholic, altar boy and everything. Priest tried to make moves on me and my altar boy friend. Didn't have game. He may have pulled it off. He just didn't have any game. Motherfucker asked us if we wanted to get ice cream. Remember Half Baked when he goes, motherfucker, get ice cream? Yeah. That actually happened to me. He said, you guys want to get ice cream? We're like, fuck yeah, let's go get some Baskin Robbins. Are you kidding me? Shit. Hell yeah, you don't have to ask me twice. We had a date. Me and my friend Matt, we're going to get some ice cream. He told his Aunt Martha, and Martha, she's like, okay, you're gonna go get some ice cream with the priest? Okay, I'm gonna come along. And she came along and she cock blocked. Dude, I bet dude never asked altar boy to go get ice cream again. He learned his fucking lesson.
You know, if you're
gonna ask him to get ice cream, you gotta go now. You can't make a fucking date. Too many things could happen, dog.
Oh my God.
You're trying to be a fucking priest. You got to get your shit together. So
shout out Martha. Shout out Martha.
Yeah, Martha saved my ass, literally.
Oh.
So, so at 11, I thought everybody was Catholic. And then, because the TV shows with Christmas and Easter, they coincided with the holidays with Catholics, and I had a church in my neighborhood. I lived around a church. We played football in the church parking lot. The church was a big part of my community, Our Lady of Pilar in Santa Ana, and everybody was Mexican. There was no white people. The only white people in my neighborhood were super old white couples that refused to move when the Mexicans came. They just held on. They just stayed in their house. They're like 96, and the Mexican kids run around the neighborhood with ding dong ditch them and terrorize them. But it was all Mexican and everybody was Catholic. We all went to the same church and everything. And then at 11, once I found out what Jews were and what like Muslims were, I'm like, what, there's other religions? I go, how come they're not Catholic? And then what's the difference between born again Christian is not Catholic? Born again Christian is not, how do we know we're the right one? There's more Jews than Catholics? What? Or, then I just threw it all out the window. I'm like, okay, this is all horseshit. There's no way we know everything and they don't know they're going to hell?
Yeah.
For what? And so I just threw it out and I became an atheist at 11 and 12. And I just threw everything out at that point. I was like, and in my teen years, I was just in speed metal bands, writing satanic lyrics, not because I was satanic, but because I didn't believe in anything. And I wanted to scare the Christians that lied to me. So, I was into Slayer, I was into Creator and Destruction, I was into speed metal, and everybody wrote about Satan. And it was like writing screenplays about like horror movies, like The Exorcist. Like the guy who wrote The Exorcist, is he satanic? No, everybody knows it's just a movie. That's how we looked at metal, speed metal back in the day. We were just writing fantasy satanic songs to scare old people.
Yeah.
Well, how hardcore we were.
Well, there's something energetically to that, because Aleister Crowley, to stick to that main topic, I guess, he supposedly was the godfather of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. He introduced to the pop culture back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, when he was on the news, because they were like, oh, this disgusting guy doing gross stuff. He incorporated the occult practices of sex magic into a lot of the occult rituals, and that's a massive topic on its own. In fact, I just did a full deep dive on my podcast about sex magic and how that fits into everything. It's at the heart of all occult practices. That's what they say. Because
does that have anything to do with? Have you looked into the Red Hot Chili Peppers and the name of their album?
Yeah, right. That Blood Sugar Sex Magic, right? Yeah.
Are they talking about Crowley?
I don't know. I mean, I know that Anthony Kiedis I remember I used to have that, it was a cassette or a CD. Anyway, but on the back, on his wrist, he's got the 8-pointed star. It's like the Star of Chaos. So I don't know if he's into Crowley or not. I actually bought his audio book. I started it and never finished it. Not that it's bad. I only got a little bit and then got distracted. So I don't know. I never deep dived into that. I talked to Dave Navarro a couple times on his show.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah. Dave Navarro, back in the day, back in my peak YouTube and blog days, I did a whole article talking about all the symbolism of Dave Navarro's tattoos, because he's got Aleister Crowley thelemic hexagrams on his elbows, if you ever noticed that. And that's
I never noticed it.
Yeah, check out his elbows. He's got these it's based on Aleister Crowley's religion called Thelema. And Aleister Crowley infamously channeled the spirit that he called Awas, that he later confirmed to be Lucifer, to write his religion in the Book of the Law. And anyway, Dave Navarro had these tattoos, amongst other things Dave Navarro has said and done. And that I did a whole podcast about how he's, in the Illuminati. That was what he used to say in the 2010s back, oh, Dave Navarro's in the Illuminati. And he reached out to me on Twitter. I said, whoa, what the hell is this? Dave Navarro. And he said, hey, man, why don't you come do my show and tell me why I'm in the Illuminati? I said, all right, bet.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it was crazy. He was super nice.
What?
We traded messages and stuff. He's the nicest guy. So cool. Anyways, so I did a show twice, and I talked about how he's in the Illuminati, and he loved it. He probably gets off on that like mystique about it. He never confirmed. He always kind of joked about it,
Whoa.
But yeah, that was pretty. I should have asked him. Maybe I did. I don't remember. This is a long time ago. But yeah, but he wasn't in Red Hot Chili Peppers for that album. So, but I'd be curious to know if he's got, because some of these guys like Tool's really into Aleister Crowley.
What?
That guy's in deep. Yeah, the drummer Danny Carey, he's got an actual ritual type setup on his drums where he's doing actual, like, I don't know, energy work to send a shit that Aleister Crowley's into. It's one of these
Damn,
topics.
maybe that's how they remember how to play those songs. Damn.
I don't know.
Those are some Tool is the hardest band to cover. Try covering a Tool fucking song. Jesus Christ. Their songs are very hard to cover.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Like, how the fuck do they remember how to play most of their shit?
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know nothing about that particularly.
Very technical, complicated, odd meter up the ass. Tools like I have been writing and producing music my whole life. A lot of odd meter stuff. Speed metals throughout the 80s, 10-minute songs up the yin yang. When I listen to Tool, I'm like, whoa, like, holy shit. That's like 10 levels above anything I was ever able to put together. It's some crazy shit.
Yeah, if you look it up, man, Danny Carey's in deep with Crowley. And a buddy of mine went to a Tool concert and sent me a photo. They had a big, the Star of Babylon symbol, which is Crowley's symbol for the Scarlet Woman, which is, ties into Parsons. That's what Jack Parsons was trying to channel. But yeah, sex, drugs, and rock and roll is it's the path for making communion with God, according to the occultist. They practice a couple forms of doing this. There's like a Dionysian ritual and then an Apollonian ritual. And the Apollonian is more of like a withdrawal. It's fasting and, abstaining, what do you call it? Like chastity and all that. But the the Dionysian side of the house is all about overloading the consciousness with rhythmic dancing, drumming, sex, drugs, the music, all that stuff. And that's what Crowley, he did all those things because he was trying to make contact with God. And there's something to that. If you're a musician, you know what I'm talking about. There's probably like a bit of a zone you might get into when you're in the middle of, like, I don't know, playing the music or whatever, where you sort of let the subconscious sort of take over, you get into a rhythm. And this is the pathway to making communion with the gods. The rock and roll. So rock or music in general, I should say, it's called the emotional experiment or the social lubricant. There's something to it that we subconsciously connect to. Elvis, to take this back to Aleister Crowley, Elvis in the 50s, remember, he got real famous because he was doing those hip gyrations and turning chicks out like they never seen anything like that in their life. It was like overly sexual. Well, he was guided by these same occult forces that guided Crowley. Of Helena Blavatsky was her name, and her sort of philosophy was called theosophy, and that's what guided L. Frank Baum, who wrote Wizard of Oz and all that. But anyway, Elvis started this out. Then the Beatles, Aleister Crowley's on the cover of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. You probably know that already.
Yes.
Well, as the song go, they say 20 years ago today, the so-and-so told the band to play, Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play. Well, the album was released in 1967. Aleister Crowley died in 1947. And Aleister Crowley said he was in the Black Brotherhood. He always said that, which, if you want to, get conspiratorial, the Sgt. Pepper could be a reference to black pepper, right? So there's theories that they were literally talking about Aleister Crowley when they said 20 years ago, he taught us how to play. And then it goes into the 70s, the Doors on the back of their album 13. It's got a little statue bust of Aleister Crowley. David Bowie, he had an album. It was kind of like it's only a couple tracks on it. It's called Station to Station. And that's about Kabbalah, which is another occult practice. But he said it's about Aleister Crowley too. He said it was recorded during the darkest time of his life. And when he says Station to Station, if you look on the back of the album, it's him on the floor pointing to a big Kabbalistic tree of life. And he's talking about the occult practice of moving station to station or Sephiroth to Sephiroth. And he said about that album, he said this was a magical treatise, right? Because he was also employing the dark forces of Aleister Crowley. And, these are the godfathers of rock and roll. So it's very very arguable that Aleister Crowley is the guy who started sex, drugs, rock and roll. And you know how influential all these things have been over the years, right or wrong. And, you know, Aleister Crowley's whole thing was, look, I'm going to start the new age. I'm going to start the Aeon of Horus, where man no longer has to feel guilt or shame about he wants to do and should be allowed to pursue his own will sexually or whatever he wants to do. It was all about destruction of Christianity. He said there's going to be no more focus on this external wills of gods and priests. It's going to be about what man wants to do. But the problem with all of this is that Aleister Crowley himself said he was going to be the chief of staff to Satan. He was all about satanic stuff. And a lot of people will defend Aleister Crowley. You look it up online and stuff. Oh, he was just saying that to get a rise out of the Christians, you know, kind of like the speed metal music. Like, oh, they're just trying to fuck with the Christians, which is true. That happens. But that's not what Aleister Crowley was about. He was literally about doing heinous shit to make contact with his God, which was Satan, and try to influence the world to go down this path that he thought Aiwass, or Lucifer, the spirit that guided him, wanted to set mankind upon. And I don't know, you can argue however you want, but I feel like, right or wrong, over the last 60, 70 years since he died, things have definitely trended towards what he would want.
Yeah. And, you know, nowadays, the music business is so huge when you include indie bands and small bands. As compared to, let's say, 1950, right? I mean, my point is, back then, in the beginning days of rock and roll, maybe 100% or close to 100% of what was presented to the public in terms of music, maybe 98% was some kind of MK Ultra satanic fucking ritual on the masses. You know, nowadays, you know, most percent, there's probably, I would say, like 95% of people that make music, they have no fucking, they're not part of no occult or nothing. They're just in their fucking, with their friends playing music. They're influenced by big bands. And even I would say the 70s was probably the first decade where like organic, non-deep state bands were forming, because they were so influenced when it was all controlled. Like in the 60s, it seemed, in the 60s, to me, it seemed it was all controlled. There was nothing fucking organic going on in the 60s. Mm-hmm. But then it got so big that these kids all over the world, in America, you know, middle America, they were forming bands. And so there's all these people, the peasants, that were influenced by this giant psyop of the 60s and the 50s and the 60s, that it created bands that really wanted just to be famous in music. They had nothing to do with the occult. And sure, a lot of them got sucked in, and you know, the big labels, the big record labels pulled them in and fucking invited them to the parties and got them sucked in. And I'm sure there was bands formed by deep state type entities that were put out for specific purposes, for sure. But in the 70s, it seemed like there was a lot of, there was so many people influenced by the music of the 60s, the fake ass music from the 60s and the 50s as well. Like Elvis wasn't, to me, I don't know that much about Elvis, but the odds that guy was just like some organic guy who just blew up because he was so talented. The guy's in a million movies. He's just so fucking big. To think that guy wasn't totally controlled is ridiculous. It's like Katy Perry or like Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga is Marina Abramovich's fucking protege. Get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? At that level, there's no way you're that big. Christina Aguilera, there's no way you're that. That's huge. That's another level. But all that shit on the indie level, you can't control all of it. You can't, because you already could see now that all this shit is being exposed now from the last 2 years and the scamdemic and all that shit. Now we're seeing who's legit. We're seeing who's not total deep state. There's a couple of them. There's a few of them. Eric Clapton, he wouldn't be saying all that shit if he was totally controlled. He's not totally controlled. And then you see like Kid Rock, he don't give a fuck. Like, damn, Kid Rock.
Like Rage Against the Machine surprised me.
Dude, how controlled, dude. It's a shocker. Most of the music business is going along with the scamdemic. Shocker. It was Rage Against the Machine. Now it's Rage on behalf of the machine.
Yeah, it's really weird. Yeah.
Way weird. And
then they decided to reunite and go on this tour now. So it was kind of weird. It was like, man, was there something involved where, I don't know, the gatekeepers are like, okay, you want to get popular again? Just, push this messaging and we'll open the doors. I guess. I don't know. It seems weird to me.
I don't know. The music business, this is what I think. Music business is backstage, after party, Sodom and Gomorrah. Am I right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The music business.
Well, there's
that's the way it's like even advertised, especially the rock bands in the 70s. Yeah. The rock bands in the 70s, everybody knew backstage. Everybody thought backstage they had 100 girls and they were all naked in the shower. Everybody thought that. And everyone was trying to be a rock star. Everybody trying to be in a band, me included. I wanted all that. Me included. I want to be loved by all these girls. Oh my God, I want to be loved. You see screaming girls, you see a band, and then they cut to the crowd and everyone's screaming, and they cut back to the band, and then you cut back to the crowd, everyone's screaming, and then they cut back to the band, and then you cut back to the crowd, and everyone's screaming, and then they cut back to the drummer for a second. They only cut to the drummer a couple times. And then after a while, you're like, I need those screams. I need people screaming for me. And they get you. That's MK Ultra right there. They get you.
That's enticing.
Yes, especially for kids. And there was a gazillion of them that grew up in families that had very little love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those kids, you're like, they're starved for love. I have a cat that was so starved for love when she was a kitten. She was abandoned. She's so starved. She has a suckling. She has to suck on her arm because she didn't have any titties to suck on when she was a little kitten. So that's like a thing cats get. They have like some suckling disorder because they didn't have their mom and they got used to sucking on their arm. And
I had a cat that used to do that. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I love it. My cat, and she'd suck on her arms anytime she feels love. So anytime you show her love, she'll start sucking on her arm. If you cuddle with her, she starts sucking. And that's all she wants. She wishes she could suck on her arm all day. But she can't just suck on it without someone else giving her love. So my cat just always just going to my son, going to my wife, going to me, just like, please let me cuddle with you so I could suck on my arm. Because when she starts sucking on her arm, her eyes roll back and she gets in a trance. She's hypnotized. She's hypnotized. She that's all she wants. She wants to get hypnotized. And the way you hypnotize her is you show her love and hold her, and then she'll just go, that's all she wants.
Your MK Ultra cat
too. She does want treats. But if she had to choose between treats and love, gun to her head, she'll choose love for sure. She'll choose love, but she wants treats too. But my point is, you a baby with no love. You bring up a baby somehow. You bring up a baby and you show it no love. That baby's gonna kill somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That baby's gonna fucking rob people and kill people 100%, right? So not 100, maybe 93.7. But I know somebody who had no love and they're the coolest person I ever met. They would never. I get it. Generally, right? So.
Well, that's how Charles Manson became Charles Manson.
Oh my God, he had the worst life ever. He was in Boys Town, dog.
Yeah.
He was in Boys Town. Isn't it crazy how these fucking high level notorious entities, they cross paths?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like Anton LaVey, the head of the Satanic Church, he wrote the Satanic Bible.
Yeah.
His connections with Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. Wow.
Oh, is there a connection there? I didn't know about that. What is that?
Yeah, there is a
I'll have to
connection.
look into that.
Have you ever took a deep dive on Richard Ramirez?
No, I mean I know about him. I've seen the show on Netflix. It's interesting. I don't know. Manson, I've gone
They
deep
leave
now.
out all the connections he had to deep
boy.
state shit, dude.
Oh, I'm
He was
looking
deep
into
state.
that.
His uncle was in the military. They knew Anton LaVey. They were involved in some fucking experiments. So yeah, no, Richard, dude. It seems, I don't know if you're into serial killers or not, but it seems like these super famous serial killers, they got connections to like the Illuminati,
Dude. And there's a lot to that.
Isn't that crazy?
The Charles Manson shit, like that's the deep. I was going to write a whole book on Charles Manson, but it was so overwhelming, and I started having these crazy nightmares about like I was slashing people's throats and shit, and I was like, dude, this energy is too dark for me. But the Charles Manson thing connects absolutely everything together, and I started writing that book, and because my old man was really into Manson. Okay, my old man died in 2012, and my inheritance was he collected. He was a pen pal with what's his name? There's a guy who claims to be the guy that owns Charles Manson's will. I can't remember his fucking name. It doesn't matter.
Tex Watson?
No, Michael Channels. Michael Channels. He was a dude that was going to visit Charles Manson all the time, became friends with my dad in the 80s and 90s, became a pen pal with this guy, and he collected all this Manson, they call it murderabilia now. So I've got my dad's collection of all this Manson stuff he collected over the years in a big frame. And it's like Charles Manson's hair, some drawings he did, letters he wrote, all kinds of shit, right? I've got a record label he wrote Rise on, just like they wrote Rise in blood on the wall at the La Bianca house. But anyway, Charles Manson connects into all this occult stuff. And I was like, I'm going to write a book about this. First off, Adam Go Rightly wrote a book about it, similar idea, and his was very good. So I was kind of like, so part of me was like, I don't know, I feel like this has kind of been already covered, but not with the deep occult connections yet. So I was going to go that route. Then I started having all these nightmares, and I was like, man, fuck this. This is too much. Then a few years later, Tom O'Neill's book came out, Chaos. He was on Joe Rogan. He was on Tinfoil Hat. Fascinating book. And he basically confirms that the Project Chaos, which is, similar in the ballpark of MK Ultra, of, government messing around with serial killer stuff, that Charles Manson was probably a part of this whole thing. And it's like, dude, this connects into so many avenues with the music and the killers. Even that Michael Aquino, who was the military psychological operations officer,
who's like fully satanic. He's like fully satanic
with Anton LaVey, and
how
in the 80s,
is that even?
Oprah.
How is that allowed? How do they allow?
I don't know, man.
Someone in the military. What was his rank? General?
He's a colonel, lieutenant colonel, I think.
Is that bigger? Is that bigger than the general?
Yeah, it goes lieutenant colonel, 1-star general, 2-star general, 3-star, 4-star. So I mean, you don't get to lieutenant colonel without like doing some shit. He made it up real high. Maybe he was a colonel. I could be wrong, but
whatever the fuck he was, even if he was a fucking private from boot camp, you know what I'm talking about?
It's wild, dude.
He's on Jerry Springer, as a fucking representing the U.S. military, and he's also a satanic priest.
Fucking
how is that guy not in Guantanamo Bay immediately?
I know, and they got him working psychological operations. I mean, it's just there's certain things that just like it's where all these worlds collide, and like I don't know, man.
It seems like most famous serial killers are famous for a reason. Like they're not gonna, because there's people getting killed all over the goddamn place, all over the goddamn.
Yeah, it makes you wonder.
Murdered
right?
all the time, and most of those murders they just can't use them to push a new world order agenda. The one world government. Everything that's pushed is to get us closer to one world government. So anything that they make famous, there's a reason. There's a reason for it. It just like Charles Manson.
Shut down
we could do 5 hours on Charles Manson. I'm pretty balls deep in Charles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, there's the mainstream story that he's a satanic murderer, and he got everyone to. I don't know.
Well, that
we can
chaos
go on
book-
forever. We can go
Yeah.
on forever. But the mainstream story about Manson, yes, he was evil. Yes, he probably murdered motherfuckers for sure. But the story they're presenting, the one they went with, is total bullshit. Yes, Charles Manson, criminal. He was in jail most of his fucking life. But when you look into it, they used him. They released him from jail and used him for some MK Ultra experiments. Some people got murdered, but it was all sponsored by US intelligence. And they just guided him, and he got, these lost runaway girls, and he had a ranch somehow, and he had a bus, and he had credit cards, and he had all these people around him guiding him, and he was using a MK Ultra techniques from the CIA on these girls, these runaways on a ranch. What?
Well, he ties into, he learned this. So the CIA, who trained Manson, probably, maybe, whatever, they used the same techniques that Aleister Crowley taught them. Aleister Crowley introduced Aldous Huxley to mescaline, a psychedelic used to make contact, right?
Yeah.
And Aldous Huxley then writes The Doors of Perception, which went from turning all these beatniks into the psychedelic 60s thing. And of course, The Doors of Perception is where Jim Morrison came up with the band name for the Doors. And of course, the story of Jim Morrison. His dad was the guy in the Gulf of Tonkin that gave us the Vietnam false flag. So it's like all these guys are so connected. It's crazy.
I'm sure you're balls deep in Doug McGowan, right?
Yeah, David McGowan's book on the yeah. Oh yeah.
Doug
yeah.
McGowan. But all that Laurel Canyon conspiracy shit, that is very entertaining for me. Because I always, for some reason, I never was into 60s music. No 60s music for me. And I didn't know why until I started getting into Dave McGowan's Laurel Canyon conspiracies. And then I realized, oh, no wonder I'm not into that music. That shit was all fake ass CIA music. No wonder. And the real shit came out in the 70s. That's when the real music came. The 60s. I mean, the 60s, I guess Led Zeppelin, you can consider them 60s, and Jimi Hendrix 60s, but there are exceptions. But for the most part, most 60s music was garbage. Garbage. And
well, there's in that time frame. So like the 60s, when the Rolling Stones came about, Mick Jagger, he had a girlfriend who was a witch, Marianne Faithfull, and she got him into black magic. And then he started hanging out with this filmmaker called Kenneth Anger. Now, Kenneth Anger was a follower of Aleister Crowley, and Kenneth
You're
Anger.
talking about Mick Jagger right now.
Mick Jagger, yeah.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
For the devil and all that shit.
Yes. So infamously, in the mid '60s, Mick Jagger gets into hanging out with this Kenneth Anger guy, and Kenneth Anger was like, "Hey, I got all this Crowley stuff. I'm really into him, and he's making all these movies. I want you to be a part of it." So Mick Jagger was in, I think it was called Invocation of My Demon Brother, and he was supposed to be in the next movie called Lucifer Rising. Mick Jagger was supposed to play the role of Lucifer. But then in 68 or 69, I guess, Altamont happened where Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones, they're on stage, they're performing Sympathy for the Devil, and then boom, the Meredith Hunter guy gets killed in the crowd by the Hells Angels, and chaos ensues. And then Mick Jagger, he's spooked now. He's like, dude, there's interviews where they talk about like there was always some dark energy when they play that song, and he stopped messing around with all that stuff, and he never went and did Lucifer Rising. But Kenneth Anger, the filmmaker, he had Bobby Beausoleil from the Manson family and Clem from the Manson family in these movies. So again, we've got these connections of the Manson family, Aleister Crowley, and modern rock music. And I think Kenneth Anger, you go back to the idea of the power of films. That's what I talk about in my second Alien book. I talk about films and the symbolism and the ideas it presents. Kenneth Anger making the films he was trying to usher in what they called the eschaton, or the final age, because he himself thought, okay, Crowley took this thing so far, I'm going to push it further, and he envisioned this cosmic battle on the astral plane between Lucifer and Christ, and of course he was into Lucifer, but he infiltrated the Rolling Stones, like one of the biggest bands of all time, and that spirit within the rock movement. There's like a really nerdy Christian outfit called Good Faith Ministries, and they make a bunch of documentaries about this stuff. And they did a 6-hour documentary called "They Sold Their Souls for Rock and Roll," and it's very much like youth pastor Christian, a bit fear mongering, a bit, because I like all this stuff too, man. I like this music, so like I don't want to hear that like this is devil worshiping stuff. But when I watch the stuff, I think, man, like they're kind of right. I can't argue with it.
Yeah, I grew up right in the middle of all that shit. I was a giant Slayer fan, and when the mainstream media was going after Twisted fucking Sister and Judas Priest and Motley Crue for like satanic references, I'm balls deep in fucking Slayer. I'm like, you guys are going after the wrong band. Judas Priest.
Right.
Judas Priest. Like the kids who really knew on the street what was going on musically, dude, it was a joke for 2020, like Wide World News, ABC going after fucking Twisted Sister. Twisted, what are you talking about? You're going after the wrong, you're not even close, dog. There's bands out there like Slayer, Creator, Destruction, Sodom. Every word was satanic and gonna fucking burn your soul to ashes and send it to fucking the depths of hell in killing babies and satanic rituals. Dude, that was every goddamn song. And they're going after Twisted Sister. That's when I started doubting the media. That's right when I started doubting the media, because I was 15 and I'm watching 2020 do a fucking report on, are your kids listening to satanic music? And I'm like, oh shit, they're gonna be talking about Slayer. They never brought Slayer up. They're talking about like Kiss and shit.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was thinking, damn, they don't know shit. Look at these motherfuckers. They're going after Judas Priest. I mean, Judas Priest, Motley Crue, and all of it, Twisted Sister, they all had some satanic references. They all did. Even Kiss, Gene Simmons, the Demon, right? They all have little things like there's a Judas Priest song where he says whatever about Satan. Oh, there's an Ozzy song. They're a little, but I'm like, dude, get Slayer's Hell Awaits album. The album cover is hell, dog.
Right.
Every song is about hell. They got a song called, Slayer got a song called Necrophiliac. One of my favorite songs all time. I gotta be honest. But the song is about going to a mortuary and fucking pulling out a fucking a drawer or a coffin, fucking having sex, having intercourse with a corpse in a satanic ritual.
Oh shit!
The song's about. It's called necrophiliac. I mean, it's having sex with dead people. Mortuaries, dead of night, my body starts to rise, dude. It's a great song.
I'll check that one out.
Yeah,
well, I think
they're going after fucking. We're not gonna take it.
Weren't they in Pee Wee's Big Adventure too?
Come on, dude. Slayer's like right there, and they just ignore that shit.
Well, I think it's a psyop in the sense that. So I was born in 79, so I'm a little bit behind you on that. I think maybe because when I started paying attention, it was Ice-T's Body Count came out and that Cop Killer on it, and that was on the news.
Okay,
and my brain, I gravitated right towards it. I was like, oh shit, what's this? I want to hear this. And I got the album, whatever. I think that they made that whole satanic panic stuff about, Judas Priest and Ozzy, because those were kind of more mainstream palatable things. And it's like, it gets young guys like me when I was 12, 13, 14. I wanted to hear that stuff. I'm like, oh, what's the wrong thing to listen to? That's what I'm going for. And
yeah, but you know what? Like if they would have just, if 2020 ABC, if they would have just said, okay, let's get right to the good shit. and went after like Merciful Fate. Merciful Fate. They had an album called "Don't Break the Oath." Look at that album cover, dog.
Oh yeah, dude.
What, does it get more satanic than that? That's it, right? Don't break the oath. Or what? You're gonna I'm gonna burn in the lake of fire for all eternity.
Yeah, my boy's really into King Diamond. I've tried listening to a little bit of it. It's fine.
That is a badass cover, though. In a teenage sense of religion rebellion. You're 16. You felt like the Catholic Church tricked you and deceived you, and now this is the way you get back at them, like this.
Right.
This is the cover you leave on your grandma's porch.
Yeah, they're trying to funnel people into that. And that's what when Aleister Crowley and Jack Parsons and all these occultists set about to bring about the end of Christianity, like that was the one religion they had beef with. Well, you can believe what you want about the dogma and the organized religion. Like I said previously, like I have my own problems with some of that too. But the problem with all that, why we should be concerned, is that it plays into a bigger role of giving up. They want you to first follow, Crowley said, we place no reliance on the virgin or the pigeon. Our method is science. Our aim is religion. Okay. And what he's saying is that through science, they want us to give up our, primitive beliefs of a human soul and this fantasy heaven with Jesus Christ when we die. They want us to give all that up, because what that will do, because there's an idea that man, if you take away spirituality, there's going to be a vacuum, and man will find a spirituality. We're not just, our brains aren't equipped to just think that, oh, we just die and that's it. Man wants to figure out a purpose for all this. So man will then embrace the scientific, occultist, transhuman New World Order fantasies of this immortal life in the digital matrix that they want to put us in, right? And there's different ideas on this, whether or not it's even possible, but that's the fantasy for these guys, these people, right? They want this immortality, but they want it to be on their terms. They want to be in control of the matrix, where they can promise you all this safety and like, oh, there's going to be no terrorist attack, no viruses. You just got to plug into the matrix, and and it's going to be like social media. We're like, oh, don't worry, we'll censor all the bad words. You won't see them, and we'll kick off all the people that don't know how to act right, and it's going to be perfect, and no bullying and none of that nonsense. Because that's the end game, I think. This transhumanistic digital matrix. This is just the way they get there.
Yeah, it seems like we're going that way, or at least they're trying their hardest. It seems like it's so obvious. It's more obvious now than ever. I mean, it's so.
Well, they start talking about the artificial intelligence stuff, right? Like Google Lambda, right? That was a big to-do recently, where the engineer from Google said, hey, I've been working on this AI and it's fully sentient. Okay. And I did a full show on this, going through the whole transcript of what this AI robot thing was saying. But the more interesting thing is, he went on this engineer, Blake Lemoine, he went on Duncan Trussell's podcast. Okay. Now, the transcript that Blake Lemoine uploaded to medium.com, that was interesting enough that I was like, oh, wow, there's a lot of like, occult singularity, Stargate stuff that they're talking about. But when he went on Duncan Trussell, that's when it really blew my mind, because it turns out this Blake Lemoine guy is an occultist. He's some kind of Gnostic mystic priest. And he uses all these references that if you didn't know the history of the occult and Aleister Crowley and John Dee and all these people, you might not really understand what he's saying. And I broke it down to try to make sense of it for people who don't know who any of these characters are. They have no idea what I'm talking about.
What was he basically saying on the Duncan Trussell show?
He was saying that this AI that's gone sentient, so he claims, it learned how to use rituals that John Dee created to infuse a spirit into a homunculus, which is it's the idea of consciousness transfer.
What's a homunculus?
Think about it. It's like having you ever heard of a golem? They call it a golem sometimes. It's the idea that there's like an inanimate sort of doll, and you could put a soul into that thing to animate it. A lot of people say that that's what the gray aliens are. They're these soulless beings that want to come to Earth and steal our souls.
So a golem is soulless, just like Lord of the Rings golem?
Yeah.
soulless.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. It might be the similar thing, huh?
Huh.
Yeah. They called it a golem, where it
Smeagol.
was like a magician would do some kind of ritual to pull a soul out of one person, maybe even a dead person, and infuse it into this inanimate object. There's a whole bunch of there's the conspiracy theories that when they tested the atomic bomb, that Jack Parsons put a homunculus or golem inside of this big metal bottle that the government still hasn't explained what they were doing with this giant metal bottle that was out near the explosion at the Trinity test site. But this guy, this Blake guy, he's talking about all this stuff, and one idea is that they're using occult rituals to teach the AI how to do this stuff. But then the other one is they're trying to slowly bring the public around to it. Like, Google, they've made this a big deal when they didn't really have to. I think they've since fired the guy. But the idea is that they're showing you that these things are possible. You can infuse energy and infuse a soul into something else. So this just plays into this idea of technology being used to get us into the digital matrix, because it's just like the film The Matrix. They want to put us into the goo chamber and just plug the mind into the system, because that's like the perfect way of being. That's what I think is ultimately the end game for them.
I wonder if they will ever be able to record dreams. If they're plugging into brains and putting chips in brains, Elon Musk, all that shit, and transhumanism and all that shit. Maybe if they could really do that, they could put a chip in your brain and somehow take memories or whatever, and you can sell your dreams.
Oh, that'd be a trip.
Like dudes who have the gnarliest dreams make the most money, and then people would be really into the techniques. There's techniques. I did them.
Really?
Lucid dream techniques where you do these certain things, and if you're disciplined, and I had to stop doing them because I'm not that disciplined, you can wake up in your dream. And if you could wake up in your dream, meaning that recognizing that this is a dream, because generally when you dream, you don't know you're dreaming, you think it's real. But if you can realize that it's a dream, that's called lucid dreaming, then you can do whatever you want in that dream.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was able to do it twice. And there's
No
these
kidding.
techniques you do. I had this DVD, and you go to sleep with it. You put a DVD. It's on lucid dream techniques of lucid dreaming, and it's like an hour thing that you sleep with, and there'd be rain. Like you'd hear the sound of rain, and then it would subside, and then you hear silence, and then maybe like some kind of ringing or whatever. So the technique is, whenever you hear the rain, think of what you want to be dreaming about. And now you're still awake. You're in bed. You're still awake, and you're going to sleep. And you're like, you got to be disciplined, because when the rain comes on, you think of whatever you want your dream to be like, and the end result is that if you do it and you're disciplined, that when you're actually asleep and that DVD, the rain comes on again, like 20 minutes later, it'll come on. Shh. You will go into where you want to be, where you trained your mind to be whenever you heard the rain. And then you realize, oh, I'm dreaming. And then when you realize you're dreaming, you can do anything you want. And the two things that there's people that have mastered this. They go to sleep and they dream, and they know they're dreaming, and they go wherever they want in their dream, and they do whatever they want. And it's worked for me twice. And the two things that everybody does once they wake up in their dream is fly and fuck.
I was gonna say, you get to make sexy time with whoever you want.
You do whatever you want. Isn't that crazy?
That is, man.
It's crazy,
But
right?
It's like a whole nother, like, plane of existence or something.
It worked twice for me. Swear to God.
Interesting.
And when you do figure out you're dreaming, you remember it. And you remember it like a video. You're like,
really?
Holy shit. Yes, man. It worked twice for me. And I remember like a video. It only it seemed like it lasted less than a minute. Once you realize, because you're so excited about it, you wake up. And then you don't want to wake up so much that you do wake up. but it lasts a little bit. And I swear to God, as soon as I figured it out, everything gets so bright. It's so bright. It's not black and dark, and your eyes are closed, and you're dreaming. But as soon as you realize you're dreaming, everything is bright. It's like noon, clear blue skies, bright as fuck. And dude, and I'm flying like Iron Man through the canyons, dog. I'm like, oh my God, I'm dreaming and I'm flying. Dude, I'm soaring through canyons.
Why'd you stop? Why'd you stop doing it? Like isn't it I feel like that would be addictive.
Dude, I kept trying to go back to it, and it's just you have to be disciplined. And a lot of times when I'm sleeping, when I go to bed, I just want to go to bed and I just fall asleep. And I don't, because it's like an hour that you go through these exercises before you go to bed.
Oh, yeah, that'd be hard. Okay.
Yeah, it's something like that. I just couldn't do it.
Oh, interesting.
But when I was flying through the canyons, this is the embarrassing part. I'm not proud of this, but you know, I said the two things that everybody does once they figure out they're dreaming, they fly and they fuck, right? So I'm flying through the canyons, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my, and I remembered that. I go, oh, flying and fucking. So immediately I go, I'm gonna have some sex. And I went down the canyon, I landed in the canyon, and out of the thin air, some hot ass chick hiker just starts coming up the mountains as I land. And she comes up with a big smile, and she's just some hot hiker chick. And I can't fucking believe this. And I just like jumped on her and I woke up. I fucked up. Oh, I didn't get to the sex part. I just couldn't believe it was happening.
Wow. That's a trip,
then I tried to capture it, but I just couldn't pull it off. And even if you do have the discipline to go through the exercises, sometimes you just can't pull it off in your sleep. And another time, the other time it happened, I remember I was right when I realized I was dreaming, I was at a club and everybody, like, it was like my birthday or something because I was at a club. I'm like, oh my God, I'm dreaming. And I looked around and everybody was looking at me, but everyone had positive energy. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have me some sex. I just grabbed a girl and I pulled her and then I woke up again.
Oh,
I wake
man.
up before the good shit happens. And then I try to... But immediately I was like, oh, I'm going to have sex. And like, I could have just grabbed anybody. Like everybody loved me in my dream.
Well, there's something to this, like other plane of existence. I did a lot of like ketamine therapy stuff. And, you know, it kind of like they flood your brain with ketamine. And it's kind of like what I think John C. Lilly did this. And that's what's in that film Altered States. He was in that deprivation tank and he took ketamine. And you end up going through that same sort of like that same weird hallucinogenic thing of, you know, feeling that we're all connected and you sort of abstract up out of what seems like this world. There's something freaking weird about it, man. And that's why I believe in all this occult stuff. Like, I don't practice it, but like why I believe that they do this stuff, because I think there's something to it. And I think they can, you know, all those, like we talked about with Crowley, with the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, it's about finding, and sort of similar to the lucid dreaming, it's figuring out the grim wire or the spell or the incantation or the technique to break out of this existence and make contact with this other thing. And then if you take it a step further, it's making contact with some kind of divinity or God in that realm. And that's what Crowley was doing. And that's what a lot of people that followed him, that were into him, they were doing that too. And arguably that's what the Pentagon and all this alien stuff is really about. It's about trying to make contact with these entities in some other realm.
Yeah. And then they just disguise it in ET and
yeah, you got to keep it simple for the people, because like
Mars
people
attacks,
like people like you and me, man, like, and the listeners, like we're all on some next level of thinking that, you know, not saying like we're smarter than normal people. I'm saying it's like our minds are open up to the idea that, look, everything we're told, you need to question. You know, there's a social construct and there's agendas here and there, but you know, the other 80-90% of the population, they're not there, man. They can't handle that. You start talking about like, oh, there's aliens, but they're not really from another planet. Like they can't, I don't think they would wrap their minds around that. I think they would be too much. So I think they got to start with that, you know, start with the nuts and bolts UFO stuff. And eventually they'll get us into it. That's why they keep showing us these movies with like simulation theory and stuff, because they got to show you the movies and the entertainment to start wrapping your minds around this idea.
You think we landed on the moon?
Hell no, man. I'm with you on that.
Okay.
I'm not. I'll be honest with you, man. Full disclosure, I'm not with you on the flat Earth thing.
Okay, why not?
But I looked at
what is the one thing that gets you?
What started it was when I was in college. Our class, not me, but the class next to me, they launched a satellite. And to launch that satellite, there's all these equations and physics and crap that they use to get it in geosynchronous orbit. And my thing, and I get it, like there's a sort of counter to that in flat Earth theory. So like for me, that was, well, they say, oh, it's like, what do they say? Like balloons and shit, like the GPS satellites, they're not really circling the Earth. They're circling this way.
Do you think your phone runs on satellites? The GPS? You think GPS is satellites?
Oh man, you're gonna put me on the spot here. I
just off the top of your head, most people
I don't think it does. I think it goes to a cell tower and then it uses RF signal.
It triangulates through cell towers. So when anytime someone goes, well, what about GPS? So GPS is cell towers. It has nothing to do with satellite. That's why when there's certain parts when you're
there's like the Garmin GPS, right? Like back in the day before cell phones you used to use, there's like the Garmin GPS, and that would lock in onto the 3 satellites, like the military uses and stuff. But I don't know, man.
That could be true because satellites in the 50s, you could watch old military film, like black and white. There's so like on Periscope, you can watch these videos. And in the 50s, satellites always went up on big balloons. They always did. So there was no secret. It was once you understand the timeline of satellites, like when were they able to launch shit in space and have it float in fucking space? Really? When you look at the timeline, like you think they just did it in the 30s and the 40s. No, there was a timeline. In the 50s, all satellites were launched with balloons. It was no big deal. Giant helium balloons with satellites, and that's how they tracked them. That is a fact. And that's how the Navy did it. That's how the military did it. But where it changed was in the 60s when they decided, hey, shit.
With rocket technology, right?
Whatever. all we know that, hey, these satellites that we're launching with balloons and we're getting our telecommunications and fucking coordinations from, if you give us $500 million, we could put them up in space. Oh, and then we'll get way better reception. And everyone's like, oh, it's for humanity. Yeah. They're like, 500 million each. Yeah, okay. Yeah, they're in space now. The satellites are up there, but they're in space now. Meanwhile, they're not in space. They're on fucking balloons the whole time. Now that people are figuring out the satellites have been up in balloons the whole time, they never went to space. They just ripped everybody off. Now that everyone's finding out, now the new thing, you know what the new thing is? You can watch this on YouTube called the Loon Project, where now they're going to make and they don't even bring up that that's how they always did them. They just say, this is the new way we're going to do it. We're launching satellites with balloons, with helium balloons. They're showing high-level documentary, and we'll put high-level documentaries, government-made documentaries. Loon Project. Look that up. Loon Project. Okay. They're acting like it's brand new.
Oh, interesting.
This is the new way. This is the best way. This is the new way. We got to look at, they go to the factory and they show the balloons. They have video of the launch. You can watch it on YouTube. They're launching now. Oh my God. We got thousands of them now. And we're gonna supply the third world countries with free internet because we're humanitarian. We're humanitarian. So we're doing this to get, look at that. This is new. They don't even bring up that that's how they used to do it. They don't even bring it up. They're just saying, you know what? This is the future. We're just going to put them on balloons.
Well, you know what? Look, and to be fair, I've got two.
Are you seeing that? Are you seeing that?
I'm watching it. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They've always been on balloons, Doc. They've always been on balloons. They just charge you more to make you think that they're floating in space. There's never been a picture of a satellite floating in space. All of these are fake pictures.
You ever seen the lights though? I see, like, if you go camping, right, you can see like the satellite, like the lights fly by?
Those are the ones on balloons.
Oh, okay. Well, see, now here's the thing. I'll tell you this much. I got two more deep points that make me non-flat earth, but I'm going to tell you something. When I first looked into this, I was like, man, this flat earth shit's stupid. This is dumb. But then I started looking into it, and I almost got pulled in, and I said, dude, I don't think these flat earthers are as crazy as people make them sound, because a lot of this shit you really do, like, you start peeling back and you're like, well, some of this is kind of weird, man. Like, I don't really trust NASA, but the things that make
they fake the 6 moon missions.
I agree with that.
All our space info comes from NASA. NASA is Nazi, right? Yeah. Not one picture you've ever seen of Mars or the fucking planets or the stars, all that shit's CGI, and they admit it's CGI.
Yeah,
they're not hiding it. So you've never seen a space You've never seen a space documentary with actual footage. Never. There's not one space documentary that exists that has real footage. It's all CGI.
I'm all
by NASA. All by Nazis. All of them. Dude, I was balls deep into space, dude. Me and Joe Rogan used to watch space. We had every fucking space documentary you could even imagine. We spared no expense. If there was a 6-part fucking space documentary, we had them all. The BBC, fucking Morgan Freeman universe. We had all that shit, and I watched them multiple times. I couldn't get enough, but every now and then I go, damn, it is kind of weird that this is all cartoons. And then I just get into it again and try to memorize some space facts where I could impress people about, like, neutron star, the fucking super hypernova, the fucking it's all horse shit. It's all COVID bullshit to the extreme. I was so deep into that shit. Now I feel like a fucking moron.
Well, okay, here's I'm with you, man. I seriously have, out of all conspiracies, the one that I will actually put my sort of like stamp of approval on, that I'm fully behind, is I don't think a man has ever stepped foot on the moon. No fucking way, no fucking how. That was the biggest psyop of all time.
You'll eventually be a flat earther, because once you realize that the moon, they fake the moon missions and what it entails, like, who has to be involved? Like, how do they what? It wasn't just like a little blip. That's the greatest achievement of mankind.
Yeah, and then they lost the footage.
By Hitler's right-hand man. What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
The guys who came in with MK Ultra, the guys who showed us MK Ultra.
Yeah, and then they say, oh, we lost the footage, and we can't do it. We lost the technology.
We destroyed the technology to get back there.
Such horse shit.
I would go back to the moon in a nanosecond, except we can't do that shit no more.
It's the only case of technology getting harder.
And it's been a painful process to put it back together again. We don't have the money. I gotta buy
the money. Well, here's two big more sticking points of why I have a hard time with flat Earth. You ever see the photos of the Lake Pontchartrain electrical transmission pylons? So, like, one of the theories is that if you planted a stick, in the ocean, like, I don't know, like sticking out of the water 10 feet, it would, like, if it's a flat Earth, it'd just be straight. But if it curved, you would see the curvature fall off. And there's Lake Pontchartrain electrical transmission towers that you could see on the footage. It clearly curves.
Dude, you could
down.
see that. You could go right now in front of your house, or just go to a main street. You could just stand in the middle of the street and look at the street lights, and every street light from your perspective is going to seem to be lower. But it's so close. It's not lower because it's curving. Or it appears to be lower. And if you were an artist, that's what separates an artist from someone who draws stick figures. An artist understands perspective and angles. Like that is, dude. You could.
Okay, that could be it there. Yeah, that's.
I mean, that doesn't show shit, because how far do you think that is? You think that's 5 miles?
I have no idea. I have no idea. Okay,
look
last
at that.
one.
You see that? You see how everything appears to be lower, like on the side, but we know it's the same. It's the same height. That's perspective. Like if you stand in the middle of the street and at night, give me a shot of just the middle of the street at night. Every light post will appear to be shorter than the next one by like 3 feet. But you know that's not true. You know that they're all the exact same height. It's the law of perspective in your angle.
Okay.
So as the light, as the further the light, the street lights get away, they're all the same height. They're all the same elevation. But from your perspective, if you were an artist, you'd have to draw each one lower, each one lower, each one lower. If you understood angles. But you know that they're all the same height. It's almost like an optical illusion, almost. You know they're the same height, but because of your angle and because you know what perspective is, you know that it only appears to be shorter, each one. But it's just the law of perspective, all that shit. That's why it appears that the sun is setting. But the sun is not setting. The sun is moving further and further away.
Okay, I have seen that. That is an interesting point. Yeah. And I'm too stupid to debate any of this, first off.
Yeah.
Second off, let me tell you, this is my dream come true, debating flat earth with Eddie Bravo. I can die a happy man, put it on my tombstone. Okay, one last point, because this is another big one that I'm kind of like, man, this is a hard one. Everyone says, oh, we can't go over Antarctica. But I found for $51,000, there's this company called Ice Trek, and they will fly you over the South Pole.
That's all bullshit. Anybody that tries to do it,
and it could be, right? It could be.
No, we know.
It's what they claim.
That's like one. There's so many that's like, woo. I mean, even I was debating with Alex Jones. Alex Jones said, hey, I'm going to fucking pay for an expedition to Antarctica. We're all going to go and I'm going to prove to you once and for all. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going. He goes, why aren't you going to go? Because they're not going to let you go, dog. This is all old news.
We spent months trying to actually do it. I was going to send a crew. They won't call back. You can't even go there. There's one peninsula where you look at penguins. So
exactly. Then you think, I have some friends that went to fucking South Pole. Yeah. They put them in that little fucking island with penguins. You got to jump through so many government hoops. And if they allow you to, they take you to a little peninsula. You see a few penguins, a leopard seal if you're lucky, and fucking a ceremonial South Pole. That's old shit.
Well, hold
on. Let me finish. So I'm trying to explain this to Alex Jones. And he goes, no, we're going to pay it. I don't give a shit. We're going to pay. We're going to go. I go, dude, you're not going to go. It's not going to happen. He goes, no, we're going to go. They try to set it up. He got Greg Reese to try to set up. They try to set it up. And they wouldn't let him go. I go, I told you. They're only going to let dudes who don't know shit, who are doing it for their university. They got some kind of in, and they're going to take them to a little peninsula. They're going to, dude, that's old shit. That's old shit. Antarctica. You can't go to Antarctica. You can't travel. You can't explore freely in Antarctica. You just can't. They won't let you. There's military presence there. Dude, there's video. You can go on YouTube. This is old shit. I'm telling you. It's old shit. There's tons of footage. Dudes on ships trying to, on their way. They're not even close to Antarctica, but they're like in Australia or off the coast of fucking South America. And there's military ships saying, they got video. Turn the fuck around. Where the fuck you going? Turn the fuck around. Get the fuck out of here. They don't let you fucking go near the Antarctica. They don't.
Interesting. All right. Don't. I mean, I could be wrong about that.
Write a book about that.
Yeah, it's
try to take a trip to Antarctica and write a book about that shit, dog.
I know. I want someone to do that. Who's got the bankroll? I didn't know Alex Jones actually.
It's not going to happen. No, Alex Jones is not a flat earther. He was trying to prove to me that we live on a fucking ball shooting through space 1,000,000 miles an hour. Imagine that. Imagine you believe we're moving 1,000,000 miles. You can't even see 20,000 miles an hour. You can't even see it. It's so fast. You know how fast bullets go? Don't bullets go like 1,500 miles an hour? You can't see that shit. We're moving 1,000,000 miles an hour one way, 600,000 miles an hour another way, 60,000 miles an hour another way, and 1,000 miles an hour another. We're moving 4 different speeds that you can't even see. And you believe that shit?
Here's the thing: is like I don't believe all these scientists anyway. So like it's not a hard sell for me to come to flat Earth.
Yeah,
but as of right now,
this is the one thing. We're gonna close on this. I gotta go. But anytime someone wants to debate me about flat Earth, I'm generally not into it, to tell you the truth. People come up to me after shows and like, I agree with some of the shit you say, blah, 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 whatever, or whatever. But this flat Earth shit, I don't want to debate anybody. But every now and then, someone like coaxes me into it. And I start off by saying, listen, you really want to get into a debate, you don't even know the name of the model you're debating, and none of the details of this model you're debating. I know way more about the model you're debating than you do, and you're going to be debating me, and you don't even know the name of your model. What's the name of your model? They don't even know it's the heliocentric model. And if they do, I'm like, okay, you got me on that. How fast are we spinning around the sun? They don't know. How fast are we spinning on our own axis? They don't know. How fast is the sun spinning around the center of the Milky Way? They don't know. I know all that shit. How fast is the Milky Way spinning through the fucking universe? They don't know. But they're going to defend it. And I tell them, I go, you're going to defend it and you're going to know nothing about that. You're going to know nothing about this model you're defending. I'm going to know and you're not going to know. But you're going to think you're right and you don't know shit about what you're defending. And then they already know it and they stop right there. And then it just ends it. Like, you don't know shit about it. You don't know how fast we're spinning unless you know all that shit. And then once you do know, that's when you realize it's bullshit. That's why they believe it, because they don't even know their own model. They don't even know their own model. All they know is they go to kindergarten, they see a fucking globe sitting on the desk. That's all they fucking know. And
I agree with you, man.
And they look at me like I'm the idiot. And I know all about this model that they love. I know all about it because we do the research. That's why we don't believe it. That's why we're flat earthers. Because we actually looked into this shit.
Yeah.
When you look into it like a detective, what do you think? How do you think detectives, what do you think they think when they're interrogating liars and known criminals? They've been in and out of jail and they're interrogating. You think they believe anything the fuck they say? That's how you got to look at this NASA.
I'm with you, man. That was one big takeaway I had is when I first started digging in. I said, man, I get the perspective. So like I ended up.
That's the biggest psyop of all. That's the biggest occult.
It could
psyop.
be. It could be. I'm not married. I'm not married.
You're doing, it's that. Yeah. It's all related to that.
Yeah.
It's all related to that. It's all part of it. It's part of it. It's the grand scheme. The ball is the prison for your mind, dog.
I like it, man. I like it. I
That's
like where your head's at. I'm not married to the ball. I'm engaged to the ball. I like to say. So
are you? You're engaged to the ball?
I'm engaged. I'm not married to it.
I don't even think you're engaged to the ball. I think you fuck the ball when you're drunk, and
I can't quit it.
Yeah, and it's late. And you're like debating on whether you should beat off or you should like make some moves, throw a couple texts out there, or fuck it, I should just beat off and go to sleep, right? That's how you treat the ball. The ball is what you call 2 a.m.
There you go. I like it.
All right, man. Hey, Isaac, we could do this all goddamn night.
Oh, I love it, dude. This is my dream come true, man.
Hey, we're gonna do this on a regular basis.
Hell yeah.
If it's okay with you.
Go. Hell yeah.
Where can people find you?
So I've got a podcast, Conspiracy Theories and Unpopular Culture. It's everywhere. It's on Rockfin. People can find more on me. I've got books I wrote on Amazon, Audible. I narrated them. You can go to IlluminatiWatcher.com is my website where you can find links for absolutely everything. Thanks again, man. I appreciate being on your show, man. This is probably the biggest moment of my career.
Come on, man. So you're awesome.
We're on Mount Crushmore together, man.
Oh shit! Okay.
I feel unworthy. It was Alex and Eddie, and then Isaac. And I said, oh shit. Okay. Well,
how many times you been on tinfoil?
11.
Damn.
11. Yeah, I just did my 11.
That's a lot of. Okay. Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you're gonna be on the show a lot more than once. I'll tell you that much, man.
Cheers, man.
Next time, you know what? Would you consider yourself an expert on Charles Manson?
Oh, there's so much to know. I could work on it though. I could put something together.
Let's do a Charles Manson
all right, brother.
Fucking extravaganza.
Yeah, man. Definitely. I'll be down for that for sure, dude.
All right, man. Have a good night, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks, brother.
The Jiu-Jitsu Dojo is the ultimate training ground for life. Jiu-Jitsu will accelerate the evolution of your being your consciousness, your soul. Through this amazing art, you will prove to yourself that you can master anything you set your mind to.
Happy birthday, Eddie Bravo.
I leave for Brazil tomorrow.
Are you the Fear Factor guy?
I'm like 6 pounds over. Time to sweat it out.
Just imagine someone that has no idea how different your game is.
I'll tell you what this weekend was, man. It was a culmination point where all your hard work comes to like one great moment in time. You showed that you're a fucking champion, guy who goes against convention. You created your own shit and figured interesting ways to get around problems in jiu-jitsu. It shows you that great things are possible if you work hard, if you dedicate yourself, and you use your creativity, and you push through. Your own human potential just goes up.
My 10th Planet Association has grown rapidly to over 70 academies worldwide, and their curriculums are all synced to 10th Planet headquarters located in downtown Los Angeles. I'm Eddie Bravo. I hope to see you on the mats.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake.